Hello, enthusiasts. Welcome all to the fourth day of this spectacular online meta gathering. With over 1,500 social media followers, 3,800 registrants, 8,000 plus badges claimed, and a whooping reach of 2 million on Twitter, this event is rightfully named OMG. But before we delve into the pomp and splendor of our virtual gathering, I'd like to take a moment and offer my heartfelt gratitude to every attendee of our session on behalf of my team at DSE. You are now an extended and an integral part of our DSE community, for without each and every one of y'all, the work that we did behind the scenes would not be meaningful. So thank you. Thank you for joining us on our journey to create the next gen innovators. Thank you for looking past the boredom of staring at your computer screens. Thank you for weighing the passion for tech more than you crave for a Netflix binge. And very importantly, thank you for taking your time off to learn on a Saturday night. A wise person once said, curiosity is the spark behind every fire. To kindle this curiosity, we have an amazing lineup of topics to cover right from DevOps, security, virtual assistant, and to top it all off, a panel discussion with the community managers from different sections of the globe. So buckle up as we have the amazing speakers that we have today take us on a tour through amazing concepts and into the universe that we call the SecOps Bay. Without any further ado, let me introduce to you our first guide of the tour, Mr. Dharmesh Vaya. Dharmesh is a technologist known for his ability to develop enterprise applications on cloud platforms and for fostering the spirit of innovation among teams. Currently, he's the Director of Technology at Agraya Technologies. He's the GDE for Google Cloud Platform and actively manages Google Cloud Developer Community Mumbai. He speaks at various conferences and mentors young professionals, startups, as well as local businesses on cloud technologies using the Google Cloud Platform and open source technologies. He's also recognized as India's first GDE in the payments category. He loves traveling and backpacking to unexplored destinations and hopefully takes us through one with his talk on advanced frontiers of the cloud. Over to you, sir.
Thanks, Kishore, for the introduction. First of all, it's really a pleasure and an honor to be a part of this exciting program that you folks are running, OMG. I think it should be called Oh My God, not the online mega gathering. So it's really an amazing sessions that you guys are planning, and it's really good to be a part of it. So we are good to start, and let me walk you through this journey of advanced frontiers on the cloud. It's more from the DevOps perspective. So I know, like, all of you all are, like young grads or probably moving into your professional careers. Okay, and this one will be more of you can say it's going to be a bit technical, but it's also going to be a bit of techno motivational for you all to pick up latest tools and technologies which you all might not have thought about, and understand where exactly the technology landscape can evolve into with these frontiers that are still opening up on the cloud arena. So let's get started. All right. So as Kishore mentioned, a quick brief introduction about me. Uh, Dharmesh Vaya. I'm heading the technology practice at Agaya Technologies, and also a Google developer expert into the cloud and the payments category. So yeah, it has been an exciting journey into the technology realm, and every day is a new challenge when it comes to cloud and different fields and technologies that I play along with. So with that, let's get started. Let us see. Okay, so is my screen on? And okay. I'll just stop cam for a while and see. Okay, so is the screen looking good now? Okay, sorry for that. I'll just try to move around the screen a bit. All right. I think the screen is on now. We can go ahead. Okay, perfect. Fine. So with that, let's get started on this journey of the advanced frontiers on cloud. Okay. What are these frontiers that we are going to talk about? So these are mainly going to be these levels. Okay. So I'll try to just gamify a bit for y'all. Okay. So this basically the agenda, but these are the levels that we are going to talk about. Okay. The first part is, of course, the basics of DevOps. Okay. Very quick, high level introduction around it. What is the current state? What are the processes involved, and so on. Moving into the core aspect of today's talk and this session, the futuristic approaches towards DevOps. And then the last level is like, how do you get ready? How do you upskill yourself and be industry ready? So with that, let's move on. The first level, DevOps. Okay, what does the current state of DevOps look like? Okay, and whether it is only process oriented or is there a technology aspect to it? So it's often like kind of spoken about that DevOps is more about the culture. It's more about the processes involved, but that is not just the only factor. There are the core aspects that need to be taken care of, which is basically these. The basic aspects of DevOps will be CI/CD, the speed with which you deliver your code and the frequency with which you deploy it. Okay, that is the whole fundamental basis of DevOps. And for that, you require infrastructure, and that's where IaaS comes into picture, which is basically your instant provisioning of infrastructure, and that too at a managed level. Okay, so you as a developer or as a product manager or as a startup, okay, are not really managing that infrastructure. You get everything ready made on the internet, on the cloud, and it's all ready made available for you. You concentrate on your product. Okay, and that is where the IaaS factors will come into picture. One often kind of neglected basic of DevOps is the blue-green deployment, or rather, it's more of a practice. It's more of a process. It's, you can call it as an approach to DevOps. Okay, but if you have this fundamentally right, okay, half your problems of DevOps are solved. The reason in blue green, what happens is you have two identical environments. One is your live, one is your standby, or you can call it as a DR environment. The moment you kind of make any real good changes to your product or environment, say in your green, which is your standby environment, deploy that to live, or rather point your entire traffic to that green environment, and you can then scale up on the blue environment as and when needed. So a very high level basic, your CI/CD, IaaS, and the nature of your deployments, the way in which you manage your environments is the whole basis of DevOps. Of course, there are a lot of other layers which I haven't covered, okay, but these essentially form the basis of any DevOps practice that you can think of. Okay. Now, what's the next level? Level two. Let's get futuristic. Okay. So there are advanced tools, technology stack, and how do you get into that? So let us see what these exactly are about. Okay, the favorite ones. AI ML. So it's everywhere. And why is DevOps still left behind? So it's all about data actually, even when you talk of DevOps. Okay. It's mainly the humongous amount of data that is being generated when you deploy an application, when there are errors being generated, or when there are any kind of issues in your environment, or if your scalability issues are there, whether it is related to infrastructure, whether it is related to code. It's all about that data and the way in which you analyze this data, and that is where the AI factor comes into play. Okay, so yes, I won't be getting into the AI aspects of it, or rather the fundamentals of the technology into it, but a high level use cases of AI ML for DevOps would be recommendations. Okay. And if you see, that is already implemented. If you see from the Google Cloud perspective, when you launch a compute instance, you'll see one column over there, which is called recommendation. Based on your usage patterns, okay, it already gives you recommendations whether your workload is consuming over compute engine, or whether it is underutilized, whether you can save some cost, or whether you need a higher power compute engine. So that recommendation factors are already available when you talk of Google Cloud, but it's all about the data with which you can play with. Okay, the nature of your application, what is going to be the recommended infrastructure for that, and that is how the recommendations are going to play an important part. The other aspect of playing with this data is that you get very good development practice, or your development matrices improve a lot. Your deployment frequencies, the rate at which you are fixing bugs, your application uptime or your network uptime is something that is going to play an important role when you talk of these development metrics. And it will eventually evolve into a culture or a way in which you start developing code in that manner. And eventually, you all become better professionals, you all become better engineers. Okay. The next part which I'm going to talk about is these two factors, which is root cause and predictions. Now they are interlinked, okay, for the fact that the faster you identify these root causes, it's basically giving you some trends. Okay. Now, how do you identify these root causes? It's all again based on the development matrix that we talked about, the nature of bugs, or the type of uh, the type of issues that are coming up every time. Now, these root causes, when you try to identify it in a manner that they don't kind of repeat again and again, but for a period of time they might come across, or spin up anytime when you kind of do a deployment in a wrong manner or not in the best practice manner. Now, these root causes, if you try to analyze the trend over a period of time, okay, you can get predictions out of that. So say for example, there is an e-commerce site that you are trying to run, okay, and on every Monday when there is a new product launch that happens, or a new SKU gets added, okay, it is going to give you some spikes in your users, or there's a flash sale that's running and it's going to give you some spikes into your consumption or traffic. Okay, so these root causes help you define these prediction patterns, at where is your traffic going to come and at what time it is going to come, and that will help you kind of scale up your infrastructure in a manner that it is robust enough and it is scalable enough to handle any kind of traffic or any kind of load. So it gives you patterns or insights that will help you avoid issues in the future, right? So with that, we say that it's more about AI ML, but it's also heavily about security. So if you say, we talked about basic DevOps, we talked of data for DevOps or from DevOps, okay, and we have to talk about security, because any application that you develop, any application or infrastructure that you design, security has to be thought of from the root. It cannot just be left at the end that, okay, now we have deployed our application, let's think about security. It has to be the reverse way. We need to deploy an application, let's think about security, and then we talk about the features. There are these question marks that you're seeing, but let's see that in the later part of the session. So it's about DevSecOps, okay, which is another branch which has been kind of on the frontiers of these technologies. So thinking about security from the beginning is all about DevSecOps. So any development practice that you kind of lay emphasis on in your product or in your application lifecycle, you also have to think about security, and that's the whole principle behind that. Even the way in which you develop your code, okay, whether it is a web application, an Android application, or a thin client or a Java application, anything, every programming language has some inherently built security features, and that is something that you need to take care of right from the beginning. Consider OAuth standards or any security standards that you can think of from the web perspective. Your website has to be compatible, or your web application has to be compatible with that sense. What's that question mark that was there in the earlier slide? So it's also about networks or communication. Okay, so DevNetOps is a new term that is kind of emerging. Okay, so if you see from any cloud console perspective, okay, you will see that you will get a way in which you deploy your infrastructure, which is your VMs, your serverless infrastructure, your app engines and stuff like that, or your cloud functions. You get a way in which you handle your roles and responsibilities, that is your IAM, which kind of aligns to the security practice. And you also get things around load balancers, networking, VPCs and stuff like that. Okay, now why is that there? Because cloud providers want you to think about the networking aspects of the whole product or the whole infrastructure also, and that is where the entire reliability factor lies. So your products or your infrastructure, your application, when it comes to site reliability, network plays a very important role over there. And the way in which you have designed your network configurations will be very much important when your entire product goes successful, or when there are issues or there are downtime. So networking is a very important factor, and that is why roles around DevOps are also considering specializations around networking. So it's not just about deployment like using Jenkins or CI/CD stuff like that. Security and communication or networking is again another important factor that needs to be considered. So we talked about data, security, communication, networks, and so on. Okay, which essentially gives us to the next part of the session, that how do we get ready to these levels? So how do we upskill ourselves, whether there are certifications, what are the must know tech around it, and so on. So I'll keep it very short and simple. Okay, this kind of is the whole basis of this whole talk. Okay, what are the learning goals when it comes to new frontiers of cloud from a DevOps perspective? Preliminary skills, the SRE principles, monitoring strategies, your network, data security, hybrid connectivity. Say, for example, you are asked to implement a hybrid connection between an on-premise and a cloud and a public cloud, whether it is two public clouds, whether it is between two data centers. You need to know these networking skills. SRE principles, something that has to be the ABCs of any DevOps engineer. How do you keep your site up and running healthy? What are these factors that cause these reliability factors to come into play? And for that, what are the necessary programming skills that you can think of? So top two programming skills that I would kind of recommend from my personal experience would be Python and nowadays Go. The reason I'm mentioning Go is because a lot of DevOps tools these days are kind of adopting Go to a level that it can play along at a security layer. It can also play along at the network layer. And if you talk of like applications or frameworks like Kubernetes and stuff like that, heavily based out of Go and stuff like that. So with that, like coming to the next part, which is tech frameworks to learn, or rather consider when we talk of these frontiers or the DevOps roles, the ELK stack and Kubernetes. So let me highlight something about the ELK stack. So when I was talking about the AI ML part for DevOps, there is something which is the basis for AI ML, which is data. The cleanliness of data or the nature of that data is going to be coming from these kind of frameworks or the ELK stack. The way in which you ingest that data, you clean that data, or you process that data can be easily managed with the help of these frameworks. And that is why ELK becomes important as a part of your learning goal. The next, when I talk about, is Kubernetes. It's kind of early days for Kubernetes, I would say. Consider the fact that like 20-25 years ago, the microprocessors, they were into assembly language programming. Consider the same way for Kubernetes. For cloud, it is the assembly language of infrastructure. Okay, and Kubernetes is the thing that is going to take over. Okay, and if you see, like, there are a lot of abstraction layers being built on top of Kubernetes and Knative. Okay, so there is something called as Cloud Run, a very interesting serverless product from GCP, which actually talks about or which is mainly about you as a developer deploying things with a scalability factor, with a reliability factor, without having to worry about the internal containerization or orchestration. And if you see internally, it's all about Knative and Kubernetes that is there in it. So with that, what are the certification goals that you should keep in mind? So three top certifications from a GCP perspective is the GCP or the Google Cloud Professional DevOps Engineer, Security Engineer, and Network Engineer. Now, you as young professionals who are trying to enter the industry, or are new to the industry, can pick either of these and kind of make a specialization into that. But having a combination of two or more will be more beneficial. Another certification from a DevOps perspective, apart from Google, is an industry certification called as the Certified Kubernetes Administrator, which is kind of very much up in demand. And you can consider that it is the basis of any kind of Kubernetes orchestration that you can think of. So it's not related to just the Google Cloud Platform, but the way in which you administer your Kubernetes applications, it is helping you achieve that level. So that's the whole basis or the learning goals that you can think of from getting into the next layer of cloud, and these will surely help you get along in a long way. So it's actually, oh my god, it's DSC is the future. So data security and communication, so it's all about this. And DSC, as y'all are the future, similarly for DevOps, DSC is the future of the DevOps realm as well. With that, I would end up my talk. Okay. If you have any questions, you can feel free to reach out on my Twitter handle, on my LinkedIn, or like as I work at agraya.com, the cloud services and advisory. If you have anything related to it, feel free to reach out to us and we'll do our best to help you out on that. So any questions, happy to answer them. I'll kind of see it on the chat window.
Right. Yes, Dharmesh, we have a couple of questions. They'll be displayed as banners and you can take them up.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the first question.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so Abel asks, how difficult is it to set up DevOps to already in production services? Does it need major product code changes? How much is the process going to cost you?
All right, good question, Abel. So basically, see, any kind of DevOps practices, okay, in existing production services, it's not very much difficult to kind of inculcate or kind of lay that process in place. Okay, it might be an initial workload for you to kind of move everything with a DevOps process. Okay, but in the end, the way in which it is going to be developed. Okay, so say for example, you have a piece which is already running. Say for example, a web application running on your own servers, and you want to kind of put that across into a cloud arena or into a cloud platform. Okay, just kind of lift and shift that into the cloud. Now when it comes to the cloud, okay, you are going to kind of integrate your Git processes into it. So you already have developers writing code. Okay, just kind of tie that up with Git, cloud build, and into the continuous deployment phase. So your basic piece is done. Now, since you are already productionized into cloud, adding layers on top of that related to security and network becomes a very easy piece of thing to do. And that is how you kind of achieve things. So anything in production can have DevOps practices set up very easily with minimal changes to your existing way of working. But yes, it's all about, utilizing the best tooling, or, utilizing the way in which you kind of deal with or the way in which your developers deal with code changes and so on. So yeah, that's more about, you can easily do it with any kind of production services as well.
Right. Hope that answers your question, Abel. Yeah, we have next question. So Adi Maheshwari asks, how much does Docker play a role in DevOps?
Okay. So if I'll give you a very small kind of analogy. Okay. Consider DevOps as a language. Okay. And Docker as the ABCs of that language. So if you want to learn a language, you have to to consider knowing the alphabets or the vocabulary for that, and that is how important Docker plays an important role. So Docker is just one part of DevOps. It is just helping you to containerize or kind of package applications. But yes, it's not the only thing that you need for DevOps. There are a lot of other things that will play an important role. But yes, Docker does play an important role in DevOps, and it kind of is a very important factor for implementing DevOps in the right way. Mm-hmm.
Right. Okay. Yes. Thank you so much. Thank you for that scintillating talk on cloud and introduction to the basics of DevSecOps, Dharmesh. Our next host will guide us shortly. So up until then, all of you all sit tight.
Sure. Thanks a lot, everyone. Thanks, Kishore.
Thank you, Dharmesh. Right. Now that we've had a zestful opening, let's move on to the first section of our SecOps Day. To help us understand how enterprises bridge the gap between development and operation activities, we have with us Gaurav Jain. Gaurav is a DevOps geek, an anime weeb, a technical blogger, and a full stack engineer at evalserve.com. Today, he's on his mission to help us understand why continuous integration and deployment are essential to minimize both the source code as well as the production time. Over to you, Gaurav.
Hi. I'd like to start the talk. So my talk is basically what is CI/CD and why do we need it, right? So this is one of the most essential parts of any development process. It doesn't matter even if you're in DevOps or not, but it's quite essential to know what a CI/CD process is and how it works. So that will help you how to go about in your development process as you join the industry. So, okay. So this is what we will be talking about. Why do we need the CI/CD process? What is it in depth? And I'll be giving a demo to you guys, and be showing you a really important tool that will help your development process be faster and in a really clean manner. You'll write good code after that. So, I guess everyone would have at least sometime heard this term somewhere, even if you're not in the industry. Why CI/CD, right? CI/CD, CI/CD. So it's a process that is there in every mature, at the very least, startup level, mature startup, so they can make their deployment process faster and more efficient. So
Gaurav, sorry to interrupt. Can you have your mic a little bit farther? I think there's a lot of noise.
Okay, sorry. Is this better?
Much better.
Yeah.
And can you also share your screen so that we can display?
Oh, sorry. I thought the screen was being shared.
Thank you.
Okay. You can see it?
Right. Yeah, we have Gaurav.
Okay. Yeah. Can you guys see it? Okay.
Yeah.
So as I said, what is it? I'll just skip these slides. Okay. So why do we need CI/CD? Why do we need CI/CD? What is it? And a demo. Okay. So again, everyone's heard about it, but we don't. Everyone doesn't really know what is it and how it's supposed to happen, right? So if anyone has ever deployed anything, They must have been scared of this one particular thing, fixing bugs in a production server or pushing something wrong in a production server, because we as general small time first time developers, we don't have a lot of clients. So if anything goes wrong, the people will stop using our site, and we're like, we don't want to screw anything up, and this fear is really bad. So, and this is not just us. So, in 2019, CodeFlash did a survey, and these were the top three problems every developer had, and the most was the lack of automation, and that was because human error, right? Human error while deploying. You can mess up anything. You can have a really bad downtime. You can cause really bad errors in the production database, right? So that is a really fearful thing, and then you won't deploy, because if there's no automation, if in a really large code base, deployment and testing can take up to a couple of days to a week, depending on the size of the code base. So that is a really really long process, and this process, what it does is, it makes us not want to deploy now. Then our features won't reach the market on time. That causes a lot of problems, and doesn't give us the speed to the market that is required in early startups. So how do we solve this, right? The solution, I guess you guys can tell, is CI/CD. So okay, I guess my screen is not being, yeah. So it's CI/CD. Yep. Now in CI/CD, there's two parts. There's the continuous integration and the continuous delivery slash deployment. These are three different parts. When someone says CI/CD, they can either mean delivery or deployment. They are almost identical. So the continuous integration is doing a build, running a build. It could be a Docker build, or it could just be a sanity check of running the code automatically, right? And if that happens, then it's going to pass this stage. So this is a whole pipeline where each job needs to be done, and then the next stage is going to happen. If anything ever fails, it's going to go back to the first one. So once we're done with this, we're going to run some tests. So these are going to be automated tests. They're going to be white box testing, black box testing, that stuff. And once these are done, we're going to do acceptance tests. Then acceptance tests are basically just the users accepting, like, yeah, this works. Once this is done, we deploy to a staging environment. Staging environment is more of a environment in which you can look at things, you can test as a human. And once this is done, this is now a crucial stage, because from staging to production, this is a really fearful stage for every developer. So what happens is that a lot of companies, they are still fearful even with an automation. So they have a manual process of doing this. And when I say a manual process, what I actually mean is a human coming and saying, yes, you can deploy to production. That is it, nothing else. So essentially, delivery and deployment are identical. The only difference is that there's a human sitting here and saying that, yes, you're good to go. It can be a manager, it can be a CTO, whatever. So this is a really important bit. Then once this is done, we run our smoke test. Smoke test is basically a build verification. Like in the here we ran the build in a test environment or dev environment, right? But here it worked cool. But this thing is supposed to also work in production. If it just runs in production once, then we're cool. So this is the whole. This is a CI/CD pipeline. That's it. So as a developer, as a non-DevOps engineer, what you need to know is that you're gonna push your code. It's gonna go in this end. It's gonna This whole process is going to be automated by your DevOps engineer. Everything's gonna happen. If you've if you're lucky and if you've done a really good code, it's gonna go through the whole thing in one go. But if anything breaks, you will at least know what is breaking and why it is breaking. And one of the major things that is a problem, going to the client with a faulty product. You're avoiding that particular thing. That is the main essential thing, quintessential thing which we want code to do, run correctly at the very least. So now, before going to a demo, I just wanted to tell a difference that there is something called white box and black box testing. Black box is just input output. We're going to check the output if it works with this input, and white box is that we're going to look at the code if it's good or not. This will. The reason I'm telling this is going to make sense in a minute. Let's go to a demo. Apes strong together. We need to do it together. So uh, I have a really simple Python code here, as you guys can see. Uh, we're gonna do the whole pipeline on this particular code. I will trigger it from here to my Git repository. Uh, oh, it's not changing. Oh, shit. Sorry about that. So as you can see, a normal push happened. Now the magic is gonna happen. I have made this repository in on GitLab. Okay, so a pipeline is being triggered. Why is this pipeline being triggered, right? And how did I trigger it? All I had to do was had this. I added this one particular file in the repo, GitLab ci.ml. Now, the reason I'm using GitLab here is because GitLab by default provides an ability to have a pipeline. You don't need to install any other third-party software. Like you don't need to have a Jenkins server set up or anything like that. All you need to do is just have this GitLab ci.yaml file, and it's gonna run whatever your GitLab this file specifies. So as you can see, this is a quite simple. I'm doing a build, then I'm running some tests, then I'm running Sonar testing. Sonar testing is a static testing tool. So you're gonna see this is the tool that I was talking about earlier. This tool in itself is going to help a developer stop making bad coding practices. It's like a linter, but you're going to see some nice qualities of this. And then doing the deployment. So you can see this code. It's quite simple. It's building here, doing a Docker build, and then pushing it to a Docker repository. That is just a build test. If this passes, that means the code is being built correctly. Then here I'm just installing some dependencies and running the Python tests. So I've made a test file here. It checks this client, and if the tests are fine, we'll see that. Then I'm generating a coverage report. I'll show you what a coverage report is in a second. Running the Sonar Cube server here, and then doing a deployment. And this is a continuous delivery, so you can see that there's a manual here. This will stop the deployment from happening on its own. So let's go to the CI/CD pipeline. I share you the this repo for reference further. As you can see, this pipeline has gone through 2 of its stages. I'll just open these stages up to show you how they actually worked. So okay, that's good. So as you can see, the build, the Docker build here. This was the whole build process for the Docker. It's just a sanity Docker check, then pushing it. Now it says the job has been succeeded. Now this is the testing stage, right? This is the tests. So in this is the now here. This is the main file. You can see it ran the test on its own. I did not have to do anything. It says that all my tests run fine. So if this happens, this stage is so important. If all your tests are running fine, you know you did not screw up. Everything will be fine at the very least. The tests you have written, they will be fine. And this is made a coverage report as well. And this was SonarCube server ran. Now the SonarCube server ran. I was talking about so much about SonarCube. What does it do? So this is what SonarCube looks like. This was the project that I ran. You can see that it automatically uh, got these. You can see there's a bug in the code, right? I don't remember having any bugs, and the test ran fine, right? Why is there this bug? Let's see. Correct one of the identical sub-expression on both sides of the operator. If you open this up, you can see that even though I made this error, and this wasn't a product, this will not cause any error right now. Further down the line, this can cause issues. But this Sonaki was able to figure this out automatically, right? This is a simple thing, but having someone do this, having a software do this for you is quite helpful. And now one more thing, there's a couple of other things. There's duplication. It shows duplication if you're writing a lot of duplicate code again and again, which is again a bad thing. It shows the code coverage. So coverage is basically, as I said, it created a coverage report, right? So it's giving a visualization of the code coverage report. So you can see fully covered by a test, fully covered by a test. These lines are covered, but this particular main part, this was never covered by the test. So this could be an error, but we do not see because we do not test this particular route, right? And this not testing your route that causes issues further down. So this will tell you beforehand if you're not writing enough tests for your code, which is really important. So it shows that we only have a 70% coverage report. So after this, you can see that I also had a build stage, deploy stage. The deploy did not happen because someone has to approve this deploy. So this job requires manual action. So if I say trigger, this will actually fail because I have not ran the settings. See, an error occurred. This is how it will look like. This is what will happen. So when your build doesn't actually work correctly, this might take some time, but okay, this will fail. You're gonna get a. This will show you. Wait a second. Look at this. This failed, right? And if this failed, that is a problem. Any problem that's happening, and we were able to figure this failure out. Look at this. We were able to figure this failure out before going into production. That is the main reason we need a CI/CD process. Okay, so yeah. Does anyone have any questions?
Right. So we have one question. We'll be popping it up as a banner. Yes. So Bratin asks, there are multiple CI/CD services. Which one should I start using?
All of them have their own advantages. The reason I chose to show it on GitLab is because so if you're using something like Jenkins, you'll have to install Jenkins and you'll have to run it either locally or on a EC2 server or any other cloud server. Whereas if I can show you on GitLab, it has some shared servers. So whatever code you have, that has to be run somewhere. This pipeline needs to be run on a machine. So it has GitLab has something called shared machines, shared runners. Look at this. So they have dedicated shared runners here. These are there, and whenever I'm running my code, it's run on these shared server. You can have your own specific server as well, but for a someone who's starting out, I guess a shared server would be the best way to go.
All right. Are there any free services that are available to students?
GitLab is free,
All
and
right.
you can install Jenkins on your PC. It's the community edition. You can install that. That's going to be free, and SonarCube community edition is also free.
All right. Perfect. Perfect. We have one more question.
Hmm.
All right. There's a fun fact. Yeah, there's a fun fact that we heard about you. Apparently, you hated Dev a year ago, and then now it's become your new favorite. Tell us about the journey. How did it move on to become one of your favorites?
So I started with the backend. I was like the backend person. I still love backend. I'm a like Django lover. So then I got this job at eValueServe, and there they saw like this was initially an internship. So there they saw that I already knew backend and front end, and they wanted me to teach. They wanted to teach me more. So I was like, okay. So they wanted to teach me DevOps because they did not have a lot of DevOps people. So I was like, okay, let's go. And initially it was really irritating, but now it's just the fluency it gives in the code. Even if a developer is, we assume the client is stupid. If a client is using a software, they're stupid. We assume that, right? It's
Right.
like going a step backwards, and as a DevOps engineer, I assume the developer is stupid. They will mess up the code, and I have to take care that they don't mess up the code, and nothing bad goes in there.
Right.
Okay, so I have another question I can see. Uh, Third-party
Yes.
services on your own CI/CD setup. Third-party services. So SonarCube is a third-party service, and third-party services do help you a lot. If the third-party service that you're using is secure, and if there's community support for it, I would say go ahead because they usually help you make your own code efficient. So SonarCube, I had a couple of issues. They have their own SonarCube community setup, so I was able to help, able to go there and post my issue, and they were like, I got the issue resolved the same day. So that's really helpful.
All right. Perfect. Hope that helps them. So
Yeah.
yeah, thank you for helping us understand the fundamentals of
Yeah.
continuous integration and deployment.
DSE has helped us a lot. Like I was actually a DSE website last year. I've been with
All
DSE
right.
since first day. I was like a student member, then I became executive, then a webhead, and now I'm like they're helping them, and this was a really nice journey with
Right,
them.
right. Lovely to have you back in the community, and
Yeah,
yeah, what we like everybody in the comment section as well to be a part of.
yeah,
Right. So
yeah.
thank you, Gaurav, and
Okay, thank you.
to everybody else, we'll be docking on to our next station of the tour soon. So grab your drinks and stretch your legs a bit. We will be back very soon. So welcome back. Moving on, let's have a look at the security in the DevOps culture. The session will show you how certain cultural shifts in DevOps has led to the continuous integration of security, helps improve the development process itself. So to help us understand all of this, we have with us Naveen, an InfoSec intern at Freshworks Incorporated, who is very passionate about tech and also solving problems. So over to you, Naveen.
Hey Kishore, thank you so much. I hope my audio video is all clear and there are no
It's all good.
issues.
It's all good.
Yeah,
Yes.
awesome.
Yes.
So I think I'll just get started directly.
You can just speak up a little bit louder and you'll be good to go.
Okay. So is it fine now?
Yeah, perfect, perfect.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So hey everyone, thank you for joining in and hope you'd have been watching the last 3 days of OMG and hope you all loved it, and this being day 4 and hope you guys are still enjoying it. And without doing much of talk, let me just get started. So let me just share my screen. Hope it is all visible. Yep. So let me just get started by saying hi everyone. Hope you're all doing good. I'm so happy to engage with you all today. And also please to take care of yourself and take care of your family. And please support each other so that we come out of this situation very quick. With that said, let's get started. We're going to discuss today about bringing security into DevOps culture, how it makes a difference, and thereby implementing continuous security. Now, a bit about myself. Although Kishore introduced me, I think this should be a tradition because we are meeting maybe for the first time, maybe, I don't know. So my name is Naveen and I'm a 2020 graduate of Hindustan Institute of Technology and Science. I'm a DSC lead and I will soon graduate from this as well. And I'm a security engineer intern in Freshworks and I do a bit of research in security. I love communities and you would find me in some of the communities, and of course in GDG Chennai you will find me. And guess what? I do play guitar as a hobby. Everybody needs something to, stop the stress, get out of it, feel away from work. So I do that. Let's start today's talk with this quote. If you do not develop your corporate culture, it will develop itself. Corporate culture does not happen by accident. And if it does, you're taking a risk. I think this should set the context for today's talk. And so we'll move on to the next slide and let's just open up and talk about it. Culture is less often spoken about. And today, in the speed at which technology and the trends are moving and changing on, organizations cannot just live with people, process, and technology. I believe that culture can make a well-defined process and people can follow it with the technology that they have. So that said, last September, if you see in DevFest Chennai, I had shared some views on the DevSecOps processes. But this time, I'd be doing something differently, and I'd be sharing views on the culture of the DevSecOps. So let's quickly look into how organizations used to build apps. If you remember the term SDLC, or if you are new to it or forgot it, that's fine, no worries. But what's important to notice is that these defined processes did not have a culture of its own. People define their cultures, and that is why we had various things like waterfall models, spiral model, V models, and a lot more, right? But not just did they lack culture, but they also were not backward compatible with each other. For example, if you do documentation for waterfall model, the documentation would be different from that of teams using spiral model, and likewise, right? But as we do all these processes are so manual, developers wanted to make a streamlined process to go from code to deployment easily. So I just remember this popular quote that the most powerful tool that we have as developers is automation. And we also believe in that, and that is what we are focusing to, build upon to. If you are listening to the last two talks, you would know how DevOps is helping to automate all the processes that developers do, right? So that is why we have these amazing models which we came across, the agile model, the CI/CD setups, and now coming to DevOps. So if you look into agile model, the development was focused on having a high performance process, whereas the CI/CD was designed to help developers save time by automating most of the deployment tasks, like from running test cases to building it and pushing it to production faster. But to ensure that these methods were working effectively, we created the DevOps to make a culture for developers and operations to come together and collaborate together. So this reminded me of this quote. Sometimes you gotta run before you can walk. That is the world we are moving to. Customer demands are ever growing and developers need the right environment to help them. That is DevOps. So DevOps is a kind of culture where developers and operation teams come together to deploy code to production faster. Hope you remember from the Gaurav's talk about the CI/CD. Maybe I'll give a kind of little glimpse again. So CI is where CI stands for continuous integration. And this is where you build small modules of an application, push it to a repository. You have a pipeline that will integrate by running if any test cases are available and simply integrates them to the whole repo. CD is the next step, continuous deployment. This is where all the changes that you made will run through certain test cases that developers set up, operations set up, and they will be deployed instantaneously to customers immediately without any kind of blockers, right? So this is called continuous deployment. And then comes the continuous feedback, where customers provide real-time feedback so that developers can work on it, reiterate on the processes, and again push it to the customers. So this is what DevOps is trying to do. Here, the culture is more than the process. Because we had agile process wherein it helps developers to reiterate on the process without having to spend a lot. And we had CI/CD to automate all of these. So DevOps is more of a culture than a process. But in all these cases, security was a last step and it was a kind of blocker, right? Generally in DevOps, security would come to focus after going production. All the findings will be considered as feedbacks and they will be fixed in the next iterations. But a good DevOps process would have minimum security checks in the pipelines. But that isn't the security culture that we are looking at. When a bug is found by the security team, the devs and operations either go into a state of panic mode or they would simply just accept them and say they would fix it later. And that would not be fixed for a very long time. And somehow, someone will exploit that vulnerability. This will now affect the organization's reputation. Everybody goes into a state of panic. So there starts a blame game here. So security team is usually the one who will be questioned because of a security issue. Now they keep pointing to the developers and operations saying they are the ones who did it, and developers and operations will be blaming each other. But why does this blame game happen? This is because there's no clarity on what is happening between each of these teams, right? So that is where we look at DevSecOps as a major game changer. There are various ways to define DevSecOps, and I would define it like this: creating a culture of SecOps within DevOps that will maintain transparency. The reason to shift to DevSecOps is because it brings all the traditional security conventions and the engagements that you have into the DevOps world, and also it enforces and advocates having the best security processes to be built into the product rather than applying it on top of a finished product. Now, this brings to question that if DevSecOps can bring in a major cultural shift. Let's look at it. Bringing developers, security, operations together isn't just enough to create DevSecOps. When culture isn't right, there is no process happening. And this is why generally DevSecOps is viewed very differently. Without a good culture, typically security teams are often seen like this, or even people inside the security team itself look at them like this. They are like cleaning up the mess of the DevOps that they create. Like, I think I could, kind of agree with what Gaurav said in the previous talk, right? So the major reason why this happens is because they're not aware of what is happening. So when security team comes and says there is an issue identified, the developers will say that we are already working on it, or we are already working on something else, right? Usually this is what happens. So a security team reports it and developers either will be like, oh, awesome. Or will be like, yeah, we know that, we'll take care of it. And they don't take care of it usually all the time until and unless that becomes a very critical issue. Now, lack of clarity is because of the miscommunications between each of them. Every stakeholder inside an organization needs to be informed of what is happening. And this is a typical reason that makes organizations unhappy, because each and everyone is not informed about what is going on within their teams, because there's no communication, which often causes poor quality code to be pushed to production. And something goes wrong, the entire organization is affected, right? It's not just a developer, or it's not just security teams, it's not just operations. So communication is very important. A part of the culture change is shifting security to left. Now, when saying shifting to left, what do I mean? Just taking security from right to left? It's not like that. So when you look at a life cycle defined, it is generally that the you go from planning to deployments from left to right, right? And usually when you do that, security always goes in the reverse direction. That is, they start from the beginning and then go to this beginning, right? So whenever the problem is identified, they dig in further. But that is going to cost a lot, and that is why you will have to shift security also to the left. So what happens when you start planning and when you start designing, develop the application, security process also starts moving along with the app's life cycle, right? The reason behind this is security is a domain problem, not a solution, right? It is often important for us to solve problems as early as possible. So procrastinating or keeping security to the end is going to cause a lot of cost for the organization. And as we try to automate everything, I don't think security should be also left out, right? It should be part of the life cycle. So our idea is essentially to move from a DevOps process like this to a DevSecOps process like this, right? So next time when a developer says something that he is going to make a feature release or he's going to push a patch release, the security team is informed about it and they give necessary prompts like take care of the security checklists, don't forget about these high level issues, high priority issues and all that. And the operations will add in their comments saying that you should not do this now, you should take care of this first because that is what customers need. And security will add in their comments saying that if you do this, this is going to happen and this is not good for us. So they all agree to a common goal saying that maybe that works. And so everyone will stick to that common goal so that they are all on the same track, they're on the same board and they start working towards it. Now, when everybody is aware of all the updates that are happening and they're always in agreement, this makes the organization happy, right? Because teams are now working together and there is no kind of arguments or miscommunication between, they all agree to each other, which is kind of very tough because you there is a kind of blame, like I said before, there is always a kind of blame game that always happens. So we often tend to make mistakes. That is fine, right? So developers make mistakes. We should accept those and we should look at the next steps forward so that we can avoid them in future. Now, an happy organization will have cost savings because all these processes do not have any obstacles in between and teams can work according to the plan, right? This also includes security fixes, right? You're fixing it then and there, right? When you plan, you have all the assessments. When you list down all the assets that you're going to use, you will have a threat model. So each phase will have their dedicated security processes, which will keep going on, and that ensures that nothing is lost. So developers are now well equipped to handle any kind of situations that occurs in production. This means recovery times will be faster, and if anything goes wrong, they can handle it well. With security teams providing better threat models, now developers can make design changes quickly. Now, what is a threat model? It's quite interesting term, right? Threat model is nothing but, for example, let me give you this situation. You are going to develop an application. So before you develop, you will kind of document what are the things you will use for your application, right? For example, you will use Python, you might use JavaScript. Inside Python, you might use certain libraries, certain versions. You might use MySQL or Postgres or Mongo or whatever database. You might use a RabbitMQ server. You might have Redis. You can have anything. So these are all listed down with the versions, and their dependencies will also be noted down. Also, you will include things like where it is going to be hosted and all that. But typically in an organization, these all will be set up and they will have a defined set of things which developers use. So the threat model is going to be fair simple. What security teams will do is they will take these assets, they will rank them on their criticality, and they will see how many kind of adversaries they have, or how many kind of open exploits they have for all these kinds of assets, and they will kind of risk rate each of them. And based on this, developers now know which to use and which not to use and how to use them. So that is a threat model. Threat hunting, again, so security teams now help DevSecOps make proactive action plans. So developers are aware of the adversary intentions and actions within the organization. Now, talking about threat hunting, this is nothing but security teams are trying to be proactive. Now that they know what are the assets and everything, they would kind of make a lot of intelligence, actionable intelligence, saying that if you use this, you have a certain risk, or maybe companies using so and so tools or so and so libraries have this effect. So it's a kind of very proactive strategic threat hunting that security teams do, so developers know what to look out for before they even start, right? And by staying transparent and by being proactive, being agile, keeping everyone informed, it creates a kind of a culture within an organization, and that is going to be blameless, right? So this is what we aim for. Now, every team needs to be informed about what is going on, and every stakeholder in an organization needs to know what is going on, so that next time if an exploit goes out, even though it is a risk accepted and it goes out, someone exploits it, the major stakeholders of the organization will still know about it. So this is the reason they had a plan, and outside the plan, something unfortunate happened. But now again, they are not going to blame these teams because they already had given their comments and their plan to the higher authorities. So it is a kind of, a transparent culture. So nobody is going to be blamed for anything. Now, what happens in a blameless culture? With a blameless culture, everybody gets the opportunity to experiment, right? Do whatever you want, make mistakes, learn from them, right? Because we are humans, we tend to make mistakes. It is fine. It is fine to make those mistakes. It is by making mistakes that we learn a lot of things. So experiment, 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 make mistakes and learn from them. Make improvements over time and become more productive. So this is what happens. So there is no blame, and so you are free to experiment, learn from your mistakes. But this doesn't mean that you should always keep making mistakes, but it's an assurance that you're not going to be blamed in a DevSecOps environment, right? So you have a lot of collaboration between various teams, and so things are going to be very easy for you. So having a blameless culture and a defined DevOps and SecOps process will enable better communications and ensure that everyone has equal contributions to the application lifecycle. Now, when I say DevOps and SecOps, you might be wondering, isn't DevSecOps developer security operations? Maybe yes, but I would put it in this way. So operations in the DevOps and operations in the SecOps is very different, right? So security operations will only focus on being proactive and defending, staying informed, staying agile, staying alert. DevOps focuses on delivery. DevOps focuses on the customers, that they get what they want, right? So when you bring both of them together, and that is when you have a very good proper DevSecOps. Just like Thanos said, And just like Thanos wanted perfect balance, so DevOps and SecOps are two sides. A balance of these makes a defined, structured, well-oriented DevSecOps environment for people to work. So through a cultural shift, SecOps now has better control over DevOps executions, and they will tell about the best practices. They can train DevOps with the best practices. So, DevOps can have a security checklist, which they can look through whenever, they kind of make something new or they iterate over a process again. So by taking in all these best practices given by SecOps, DevOps is going to be more productive, more better, and the code is going to be more cleaner. So every deployments that they make is going to be clean and secure for the customers, right? So taking a high level look at how DevSecOps works is as having a simple security integrated process. And doing this is definitely a major culture shift, not just in the process, but also creating a healthy relationship between DevOps and SecOps. Now, so if you take a look, when you plan, when you analyze your ideas which you want to execute, security teams will be helping you with risk assessment, right? So with that assessment document, you will be able to, kind of make modifications right and then and there. And then you move on to design. Now, when you move to design, security team provides you a threat model. So based on that, you can change your design then and there. And when you move on to implementation and testing, that is where you will have all the code analysis, dynamic code analysis done, code reviews being done before you deploy. And so when you go into deployment, that is when you stage your applications, security teams will help with compliance tests, right? So things like, there will be company policies, there would be country level policies, like, for example, European Union has GDPR. So things like that. So they take all these things into consideration and make sure that the product that they make is compliant. And when you move out to production, teams will help you with vulnerability assessment. Now, by doing an assessment, it's a kind of things you can catch all the bugs out in the wild, right? There would be things that you missed through the process. There could be a sudden 0-day vulnerability that occurs. So, they have a vulnerability management system on top of which the security team will work by performing VA tests and ensure that everybody is safe and happy. So to do this, all these changes can only happen when everyone starts working together, right? So I think that is the major cultural shift that we should be aiming for when, as an organization, we try to integrate DevSecOps into it. So with that, I would like to conclude my talk today. I know I am 10 minutes early, but hope you would have understood the importance of culture and how and why it is very essential. Thank you so much for staying with me all this time. With that, we end the talk for today. If you'd like to connect, say hi to me or say that I made mistakes or any kind of improvements, anything you have, you can connect with me on these places. Right. Thank you so much for staying with me till the end. And that's it for today. Thank you so much.
Right. Thank you so much for that, Naveen. We have a lot of people interested, and we have around 3 questions. So will you be able to take that?
Yes.
Right. Okay. So the first question is by Prachija. So for automation, which do you prefer, Selenium or Puppeteer?
Okay. So if you look for automation, I wouldn't be preferring something where I do not have a very kind of a solid preference to something. But if you ask me, I'm familiar with Selenium, so maybe I could say I would go for Selenium than Puppeteer.
Right. Okay. So we have another question as well. Yes. It's by Happy Singh. So he asks, can you put some insights around GitHub? Okay, so he wants to know how GitHub recognizes deprecated packages so quickly.
Okay. So GitHub has various of modules. For example, GitHub has a collaboration with LGTM or SEML, which does static code analysis. That is for the security part. Then you have things like dependency bot. There is linting, which is powered by GitHub. So it's all the backend that they have very strong algo, which is they're able to understand through the versions. Understanding that is not fairly very complex process, because through the node packages you would have all the versions mentioned. So I think that's it. I mean, like, I'm not very sure about that, but through the node model versions and all that is how they identify and show you that these are deprecated, you will have to change it or do all these changes.
All right. What about modifications in our code? Do we have to manually do that, or can we automate that process as well? As and when packages get deprecated, what about changes in our
Right.
code? Can we look
Right.
at automation for the same time?
Cool. So as of now, if we look in the process of DevOps or DevSecOps, whatever, all the code level changes are done manually by humans, right? So the only thing that is automated is the way you push it to the pipeline, and the build happens and the test cases that runs behind it, and that is all is automated. But code level automations aren't something that is like, it's something that we are yet to realize.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so maybe if you get the documentation of what the next release is, and if you're able to run a machine learning model as to how our code can scale up to whatever the changes are, I think that's something that we can look at in future. So we have another question as well. I think it's by Abel. Yes, it's by Abel Matthew. He asks, how do we make the students in our college understand the importance for security? Majority are of opinion that if it is a small project, you don't really have to care about the security.
Right. So importance of security is something which starts with awareness, right? Awareness is something which is not an easy process, because if for a student, what is important to him or her is that they try to make something, they keep it, they go live and they're happy about it, right? But the thing that they don't understand is, how are my customers affected, right? So if I make a service that will kind of something like a Snapchat or something, the student would not be caring about the users, because he would be caring about the functionalities. That is a typical mindset for any developer. They would care about functionalities first, right? But and if you look at students who are unaware of it, they wouldn't care for it. The way you can make them understand the importance is to engage them in all these security practices and show them real life examples how security is affected, right? For example, how does a weak password get compromised, right? All these things are like, it starts from the beginning. So I think that is how you can like make students understand about the importance of security.
Right. So if it's about small projects, give them an eye about scalability and the security concerns that might come if your application actually scales, right?
Mm.
Yes. All right. Cool. So yeah, thank you so much for that, Naveen. Yeah, I actually believe that with that soothing voice of yours, you'd be the nicest DevSecOps engineer ever. So yeah,
Thank you so
thank you so
much.
much for joining us now. And so before we advance to the next stage for guided tour, let's take some time off, breathe, and have some fun. So hang in there. I'll let you know much about what's going to happen next in a while. All right. I think we can move forward. So I've asked our next tour guide to wait up as I still you to have some fun. So we'll be going through a couple of slides and you'll have to comment whatever the answers are and may the fastest fingers win, right? So this one's called Mind Games. And yeah, moving on. So these are the rules of the game that we're going to play right now. And it's pretty simple. It's the basic board mass rule that we've all learned. So whatever goes inside the brackets, you operate on that first, and then multiplication, and then division, and then summation and differences. So are all of you all ready? Can I get a thumbs up in the live chat before we move on? Right, I'm waiting for the thumbs up for me to move on, and once we get that, right, cool. So I'm moving on. So all numbers are in binary. The questions are in binary. That's the trick. And your answer should be in decimal. All right. So I'll be looking at the comment section. Whoever gets the answer first will be awarded. So we'll move on to the first question in 3, 2, and 1. There we go. So that's not 10. That's in binary. So keep that in mind. And give me a decimal answer though. We'll move on to the next once we start getting answers. So right. Right, we have 10, 3. I think we had a 3, so the answer was 3. And again, answer in decimal, don't answer in binary as well. But we had a winner, so the answer was 3. But this was pretty simple. Let's move forward to a little bit more difficult one. And also make sure you don't have some converters by your side which convert your binary to do it on your head. That's what this game is about. Right. So 3.0, whoa. I see double answers here, huh? Just an integer answer would do, but it has to be a decimal integer. Right, we're getting multiple answers. Okay. Right. So, right, we have a winner. So the answer was 6. Yes. Yeah, it was Katrina Knight. Good job with getting the answer right. So we move on to the next one. And are you guys ready? Are you guys getting your calculators to convert the binary to decimals? Someone says 32. Whoa, okay. All right. The next one, again, these are not decimals. These are binary. But it doesn't make much of a difference because it's 1 and 0. Right. So are we getting answers to these? This is pretty simple. Come on, guys. Even with the delay that I have from the way I'm streaming and the YouTube section, this should be a pretty quick one. There are a lot of ones. I guess we have to take a poll on this. There are a lot of 1s and 2s. Right. Let's look at what the answer is. It's 1. So whoever said 2 can brush up the math skills again. It's just board mass. Right. That was Pradeep. Good job, Pradeep. We'll move on to the next. Right. So again, for people who are looking at this again, this is not binary. So this is binary, it's not decimal. So take care of the calculations there. All right. We have like all assortment of numbers in here, right? From 1 to 10. There's 11. Let's move on. The answer is 3. Was 11 again? If the 11 was a binary answer, I can't help you. I wanted the answer in decimal, so make sure you guys have the answers in decimal. So this is the next question. This one's a pretty long one, but hopefully you guys are already used to answering these questions. So hopefully you guys can. I also love the motivation you guys have in the comment section. Even if it's a wrong answer, you're like, yeah, I'm going to go for it. Right? Are we? Right. Okay. So for everybody who got a number other than 0, you guys really have to consider you guys passing 10th or 12th. Yeah, congratulations to Ashish who got the right answer, and the answer was 1. Again, this is a decimal answer. Hey, we'll move on to the next one. Come on. What do you get when you see this? What do you get when you see this? Zeros. Why do I still see zeros? 1, 10, those are crazy numbers. All right, so we have a lot of 2s. The answer is 2. So kudos to everybody who got that, but someone said it first, and the banner would come up right now. Yeah, we have Katrina Knight again. Whoa, amazing job. Go to the next. Yeah, All the best with this. I'll take a nap and come back. I'm pretty sure this is going to take a while for y'all. Yeah, give me all types of answers, guys. Just smash the keyboard. I think that's what you have more probability of getting the answer right if you just sleep on your keyboard rather than try and calculate it. I have 99 here. 99 and 55. Whoa, those are two very different numbers. But okay. We have a 54 as well. Team, give me the right answer. I'm still I'm still calculating this myself. So yeah, let us look at the answer. It's 55. All right. So to the ones who said 99, a big F. We have 84 as well. Someone put a thumbs up as an answer. I love the motivation, but yeah, thank you. Right, we'll move on to the next. Yeah, so that's a space there, guys. So remember and find the answer. What comes in the space? Right, we are again getting answers just flooding. Actually, we need to start getting the count of people who are getting the right answers. It's a really huge number, guys. Just keep that in mind. So all the ones and all, you use this number every day. So that's a hint. I guess the answer is already there. So it's up to you all to pick and give me the right answer. I'm pretty sure Tarun is just sleeping on his keyboard because I see 10 answers just from him. Yeah. Okay, the answer is 2020. Good job with everybody with such a depressing number. But yeah, let's see if the next one brings up hope. Right? Yeah, congratulations, Raksha. I think she was just pissed with this entire event and she was like 2020 and she got the answer right. But yeah, we go to the next one. Okay, there were actually hints, but I gave it to you. So, all right. I'm sorry. Yeah, how many of you guys saw it? I want to make sure nobody saw it. How many of y'all saw it? Don't cheat. Come on. I'm just hoping none of y'all. Yeah, I just hope no one saw this. Right? This is the hint, and this is the question. Go ahead and solve it. Like, hey, hey, this is cheating, yeah. Come on. All right. Okay, so the ones who still want to identify how you arrive at that answer. Yeah, so you convert these into the actual decimal representation and you map it to alphabets. So all the ones who wrote OMG even before I gave the second hint, what are you guys doing? All cheaters, huh? All right. Yeah, actually put down the numbers. Calculate what O, M, and G is, and then put out the numbers. ASCII values. Oh my god, that's brilliant thinking. But that's not the answer. So you're bluffing, Tarun. I knew. Like we have a previous tour guide helping you guys out. Convert the binary to a number. All right, I think we'll move on to the next one. This is the next question. Now this shows you true metal. So the ones who wrote OMG even before I gave the answer, try solving this. Only then will you guys. Okay, yeah, Katrina Knight. I think she's a math whiz. She's giving me answers for everything. So this is the last one. So it's the grand finale. So all of those guys who got the previous ones right, all of your answers are nullified. Whoever gets this right wins the entire game that we did. Yeah. Naveen, amazing job with the motivation in the comment section. right? Someone just said 3,000. How do you get 3,000, bro? Yeah. We love you, 3,000. We love you, Sampath. You're a part of our family. Kuch bhi. Ayush again 2020. You guys are just repeating answers, yeah? Just with the luck of getting it. 2021. Whoa. Okay, nice. Try T20 also, no? What is it? All formats you try. One day T20. Sampath. Just because you think is the right answer. Someone gave their phone number. Happy Singh. You should really consider the security concerns that was mentioned in the previous talk. Even if you're just typing down random numbers, don't put your phone number, dude. Someone says 50, 60. And okay, I think we're good to go. We'll go on to the answer. It was 3,000 and Sampath did get it, but I didn't want to release it earlier because there was only one person who actually got it right. Everybody else is bluffing here. So Sampath clearly wins the trophy. And yeah, we love you guys all. So we love you 3,000. And that was it. So that was it for the game. So we'll move on to the next session in the pipeline. So we'll be with you guys very soon. So stay back and relax. Right. Welcome back, everybody. That was a nice session. So now that we've cleared the customs with our previous talk, let's move ahead to the next station. Virtually all applications make use of sensitive information to perform their intended operations, right? So this talk is aimed at imparting knowledge on implementing a proactive approach to identify and protect such secrets by integrating various tools across different stages of the application development lifecycle. So as a guide for the station, we have with us Ayush Priya, a DevSecOps engineer at AppSeco, and a core team member at DSCVIT to help us understand the proactive approach to identify secrets embedded in the code repositories. So, hello, Ayush.
Hey there, hey Kishore, how are you?
Hello, I'm doing just fine. We had an amazing session. So, yeah, you can the stage is all yours. You can take it out from here.
Okay. Hey everyone. Yeah, there are my slides. So today I'll be talking about identifying secrets in code repositories proactively, being the keyword. So brief about myself. I'm Ayush. I'm a member of DSCVIT as well as I'm currently working as a DevSecOps engineer at AppSeco. So coming to the session, this is a brief outline. We'll start off with what are looking at what are the challenges of secrets management. How do we manage secrets, and what's the issue with leaking secrets? Then we'll take a look at some tools that are available to manage this, as well as some automation and how basically the proactive part. And then lastly, we'll talk about some miscellaneous methods to integrate scanning in certain stages where we completely avoid the problem. That is. So let's start with this. So the first thing is challenges in secrets management. How do secrets get leaked in the first place? So the points mentioned here, let's take them as a step-by-step thing. The current trend in the dev community or tech in general is to embrace automation, right? And to perform automation, we have to impart certain credentials or authentication mechanisms to our code. And for example, let's say you want to connect to your database, right? You have a set of maybe a username and a password. But if you want your code to connect to that database, now your code needs to have that same access information, right? So you typically would have to impart your credentials to your code in a certain manner, be in the form of hard coding, environment variables, .env files, and a bunch of other ways. Now, this is all fine. The problem arises when you commit that code, because remember this line, Git never forgets. So for those of you who are not familiar with Git, Git is a version control system which basically tracks changes across your code, your application, and not necessarily code, but like for anything for that matter. But like let's focus on code here. So the point where you commit some secrets to your repository, and even if you try to like delete those keys and then do a new commit on top of it, it still remains in the history. A lot of people forget about this very simple fact about Git. So for example, if I ever get hands on the source code that you have created, I can take up and like move back to the commit that had secrets and then uncover those credentials from your code without ever having to like do much work, because there are tools available, right? Coming to why would you want to scan for secrets in the first place? So secrets are just that. Secrets are meant to be kept secret. They are very sensitive information in a way, and they are the backbone of authentication and authorization. So every service that you have some sort of sensitive information would require for you to provide some sort of authentication and authorization mechanisms, so that the two questions are answered: what access do the secrets provide and what actions do the secrets allow? So when I log into my Facebook account, they should know that, hey, it's Ayush, and what actions can I perform? So for example, I can change my email ID, not yours, right? So the other issue resides with the fact that it reduces attribution. Now attribution is the process of identifying a perpetrator, or like the source, actually not necessarily the perpetrator, of a certain operation or action. So now that the credential pair that I have is legitimate, right? It's not supposed to be fake. So it creates ambiguity about if you look at something called logs. So you would not be able to differentiate with whether I connected to the database or whether it was someone impersonating to be Ayush with my credentials, right? And in turn, it creates an issue for incident response or forensic stuff. For example, an attack did happen and then database credentials were leaked at some point, we don't know when. So if we start seeing anomalous behavior with the database, for example, the issue arises when we are trying to do incident response or like forensic stuff. Hey, what went wrong? We would be able to find someone downloading the logs, but the issue still remains the fact that those credentials were actually meant to access the database, and we'd not be able to identify who actually was the perpetrator. We can like, get to the meta source being who leaked the credentials or who accidentally leaked the credentials, but that's about the extent of it without like further forensic investigation. So what happens if you don't scan? The most obvious one being account takeovers. It's as good as like you accidentally sharing your password or something in a file, or someone just looked at on top of your shoulder, which is called shoulder surfing. And you'd see that people would try to just take over your account, right? The other one is SSH keys. So SSH keys, for those again who don't know this, are ways that you can access servers on the cloud or like on the internet, basically, which is not basically your local machine, from your local machine. So if I get my hands on a pair of server credentials, basically SSH keys, to access that server, I could log in and put my application stuff scripts there, for which is a predominant space for crypto mining. Then there is this new form of attack. It's a very intriguing article if you read about it. The attack is called denial of wallet attack. It's an article by Scott Piper, who's a pioneer in AWS security. So basically what it means is, when the times were about on-prem servers, you did not have limitless capacity to scale up. So in the case of a DDoS, the moment you run out of resources, your application goes down. But we live in the age of GCP, right? So we have scaling options, and depending upon your scaling options, if your scaling option allows for auto scaling and certain configurations, a DDoS attack could actually like scale up your server infrastructure, actually. And because you're just paying for that server and your auto scaling options, the application though remains up, so your customers are happy, but you end up paying a hefty price for the infrastructure that was invoked to handle that extra traffic from the DDoS attack, which is the denial of wallet attack. So next we come up to what are some of the tools that we'd want to use, right, for secrets and identifying secrets. So if anyone was wondering, you would not try to write your own scanner for like scanning secrets in your code. It's a very old problem and has already been solved. There are very many mature tools available out there to do this. So some of the tools, okay, being the keyword here, Git secrets, Truffle, Git leaks, detect secrets, Talisman. A bunch of these are from like well-known companies, and like Git secrets is actually from AWS. Truffle is from an independent developer. Detect secrets is from Yelp. Actually, Talisman is from ThoughtWorks, I think. And there's a whole bunch of other tools out there. The difference being in terms of characteristics of these tools, how they identify secrets, what's their base rule set, and stuff like that. My personal favorite are Git secrets and Truffle, because of some experimentations I did. We'll talk about that later. So how do you choose the best tool for your needs, right? So I ended up boiling all the different characteristics down to the three ones that matter to me, that were identification strategy, time to complete the scan, or the execution time basically, and then customization, which is like a bonus point, that's like there, it's not necessary. So identification strategy, the most normal one being the entropy based scans. Entropy is basically a measure of randomness, and regex is pattern based matching, right? So there are secrets who conform to certain patterns. For example, ssh key that we talked about earlier will definitely start with a bunch of dashes, ssh public key, or like ssh private key, then a bunch of dashes, and then there's a key in the middle, and then at the end it again has a bunch of dashes, ssh and ssh key, something like that, and then again a bunch of dashes. So because this is a defined pattern, you could create a regex based on this and use that to scan your code for, say, right now, ssh keys. There are plenty of other secrets that have a specific pattern that you can write regex for. For example, even Slack authentication tokens have xop something at the start, and you can write pattern based on that. But we again then have secrets, like say typically API keys, for example, are really just like a stream of random characters. There's no pattern associated with them. So that's where entropy based scans come in, wherein they take up a string, they calculate a Shannon entropy of it, generally Shannon entropy of it, and they decide based on the threshold that you set, is it random enough to be a secret or not? If yes, then they flag it, else they don't. Coming to time to complete scans. So the whole point of embedding secrets is to improve speed of delivery of software, right? And if your scanner takes a day, that doesn't really help you. So there are tools that perform really well with like in terms of speed. There are tools which perform well in terms of speed but are not that great with identification. So it's a trade-off between the two, and you need to identify how exhaustive is your list of secrets to search for, and whether how much are you willing to trade off on speed of delivery of software based on those identification strategies. Customizations are certain features or utilities that a tool might have to just make your life easier. For example, Git secrets allows you to install it in a Git repository. It has a bunch of novel features that allow you to fetch patterns from a whole bunch of different places. It could be a file, it could be a web resource, and a whole bunch of other places. It's very exhaustive. So going to the next slide. So the experiment that I talked about. So what I did, I took a random repository. I added and at random places a SSH key, a Slack token, and an AWS key. So if you can see, Trufflehawk, Git secrets, and Git leaks were able to identify all three of them, whereas Detect secrets and Talisman did not. They identified two. And execution times also vary a lot. Git secrets being obviously the winner at 2.8 seconds, and Trufflehawk is doing decent with 55.3. Detect secrets although did it in 8.4, but since it did not uncover all secrets, I didn't really put it up above other tools, because the primary thing is to identify secrets, not being fast. So yeah, coming to proactive actions, like the whole point, like okay, fine, I have a scanner now, I know what kind of patterns I can use, or maybe a Shannon entropy scan. But where is the proactive part, right? Do I need to manually scan every code or commit that I write? So the question again comes to the fact that do I need to run a scan before I push my code? Need to? No. When I say need to is because not necessarily. There are other places that your code can be scanned and not necessarily by you. So implementing automated scans. So it can be a central place where your code goes and gets scanned. Integrating scans and deployment pipelines. Your code might already be a part of a pipeline or like a CI/CD infrastructure that takes your code through certain build steps already, right? So there could be a test phase along with your other tests where it gets scanned for secrets. And then there is periodic scans, where your repository or something gets periodically scanned irrespective of whether you've pushed new changes or not. Now periodic scans although are great, but then do not necessarily mean that you'll always be able to identify secrets proactively. For example, if you've pushed a code and the period before the next scan happens is after the deployment that you have scheduled, so your code still gets pushed to production and your secrets still do get leaked before the scan flags your secrets. So periodic scans, I'll take or give, but the other two definitely are proactive approaches. Should you? So yes, ideally your code should be scanned before it leaves your machine, because if it's able to be in a place or a Git repository, it means that it already has been committed, right? And because Git never forgets, once it's there, it's there. Even if your code is private, there's something called internal threats, which is basically people inside an organization that end up doing malicious stuff or are forced to do malicious stuff or become vectors or like uh, proxies for like attacks, right? So should you? Yes, we'll talk about this later though, as I say. So do I need to pay for a CI/CD server for running scans? No, not necessarily, unless you want to, because it depends. If your only task is to scan for secrets, then you definitely would not want to pay for an entire server to just run one scan, right? So the easy answer is no. GitHub Actions to the rescue. GitHub Actions are basically a fairly new offering by GitHub, wherein you get free compute services. They make use of something called workflows, and those workflows are basically a defined steps of actions that are performed on your code or like whatever you want it to be on something called runners. Runners are the compute instances that come up, perform those actions, and then they go down. So GitHub Actions for a very decent amount of usage metrics, for example, uptime, runtime, execution time, and whatnot, is free. And you might want to take a look at this if you haven't already. So yeah, this you don't really need to get intimidated by this screen if you're not familiar with how to write YAML files or whatever. It's fairly readable though. So this is just a workflow. It's a very basic workflow using Trufflehawk to scan my code, right? And it only scans when there's a push on the master branch. It runs on 1804, Ubuntu 1804. It sets up Python 3 because Trufflehawk is a Python tool. And basically the last step being where the scan is run. So it's very simple. If you just look at a few tutorials, it's going to be fine for you. Implementing a scan workflow. So how would you, after you've written that file, how do you go about adding it to your GitHub Actions workflow so that it scans your code repeatedly? So you'd write a workflow. You would create a .github/workflows directory, or if you just click on the add workflows button on GitHub as well on the web console, it does this automatically for you. Then you commit this workflow that you've written on step 1 in this directory, and then just trigger the requirement event, which is mostly a push if you want, but there are obviously ways to remotely trigger this as well. So depending upon your use case, you can tweak the event that triggers this workflow or a scan, and you can go about doing that. So GitHub Actions is fine, but what if you already have existing CI/CD setup? What to do about that? So it's still very easily doable. Let's say that you have an infrastructure, but because again this is just one scan and you do not want to for some reason put it up on the same instance as Jenkins, right? Because it might create dependency issues, and generally we want to separate the infrastructure from the tooling. So what you can do is Jenkins could trigger a remote build on GitHub Actions. So the flow would be you push the code to GitHub then pushes it to Jenkins based on a webhook. Jenkins takes that code and sends some meta information, say for example the URL or the Git repo link to GitHub Actions, which scans and then sends back the results to Jenkins. And based on the results, whether there were secrets or not, the code can be pushed or not pushed to the server. Right. So this is one way. There could obviously be other ways where you use some other service. For example, Circles has some other fancy CI/CD solutions. But in the end, it boils down to the same basic approach that you can offload the scans, offload being the keyword, to GitHub Actions, and just not just the secret scanning bit. Like if you have a very not so frequent scan, you could always make use of GitHub Actions, make use of private repositories and personal access tokens to figure out a quirky solution to offloading your scans to GitHub Actions. So coming up with other ways of mitigation, which is the miscellaneous section that I talked about. So it's fairly obvious that scanning is the way to go, but do you need to scan only centrally, or there are other ways that you can scan as well? So what are some other ways to save myself from leaking secrets? So there's something called pre-commit hooks, pre-push hooks, and push rejection. Let's talk about one of them. Let's say pre-commit hooks. So hooks are nothing but a set of actions that Git can perform on behalf of you based on the event, right? So pre-commit hook would be when you try to commit code, a hook would be triggered and it runs a certain set of actions. And based on the result, the commit is rejected or accepted. So a pre-commit hook where a scan is run on your code is where GitHub, not GitHub, my bad, Git would run the scan and check whether or not your code has secrets embedded in it. If it does, it would not allow you to commit the code, which saves you from ever committing secrets to Git history. Pre-push hooks are a step later. When you've committed changes, the secrets are there in your history, but you do not let them leave your machine. So pre-push hooks again are a set of steps which would check before you push whether the code contains secrets. And if they do, if it does, it won't just reach your Git repository. Push rejection is the other side of pre-push hooks. So push rejection would be something where you've hosted your own Git server or maybe using GitHub Enterprise to run it on your on-prem servers. So push rejection would be when you receive, the server would receive a push, it will scan again and then reject a push if it contains secret. So it's the other side of pre-push hooks. But all of these are fairly different from the approach that we talked about earlier. So why does everyone not just set up Git hooks instead of central scanning? Because Git hooks being the most proactive amongst all the methods that we see, right? So pre-commit hooks would be the best place to invoke scans. But the issue arises with the fact that Git hooks are an individual developer's discipline. So as a company or an organization, if you're trying to involve Git hooks as part of your development culture, you would have to ensure that all developers use Git hooks, which is a really difficult thing to do. It might seem easier. Okay, we might give them configured Git client on their machines and whatnot, but it still becomes a really tedious task to do. And central scanning is what we talked about earlier, where the code, we know that the code will pass through this checkpoint. For example, a CI/CD infrastructure, for example, Jenkins, Circle CI, or our code repositories where we could run something like GitHub Actions. So central scanning is easier to implement and manage. Implement obviously because it's centrally, and manage as well. Because for example, if a tool now comes up with new patterns, or you want to add a pattern to the list of signatures that you've created to identify secrets, right? Adding them individually in each developer's laptops is again very tedious. Whereas if you just maintain it centrally, you just add it there and it works for all the code that passes through that central checkpoint, right? So depending upon your use case, you can try the two. Generally for organizations, centrally would be the way to go. But if you're an individual and you want to improve your developer discipline, Git hooks are definitely the way to go. And for Git hooks, you'd actually really want to try out Git secrets, because it's really easy. Once you've installed it, it actually becomes a sub command of Git. So there would be Git secrets as the command, and then you can go about doing stuff. So git secrets hyphen scan would allow you to scan your repository just like that as just another Git command. So yeah, I thank you guys for listening into me, and OMG for allowing me to speak here. It's been a great time here, and if you have any questions, I'll take them now.
Right. We do have questions, Ayush. We will display them as banners and you can take them up. Yeah, the first one is from Abel Matthew. So if git commit has a secret by mistake, is there no way to secure it apart from resetting git history? Is there any other way?
So the things that you can do is either to rebase and then edit the commit history itself, which is a very tricky thing to do, and I'd suggest you not do that. The other way is to revoke those credentials right away. The moment you realize there's a pair of credentials leaked, you'd want to revoke them. So even if they are part of your history and you leak that at some point, it's fine as long as you revoke them.
Right. That helps. Yeah. So we have the next question by Anubhav Singh, and his question is how to keep GitHub Actions workflows updated according to the latest specifications.
So a lot of tools come up with their own patterns or set of signatures that they have. For example, Trufflehog maintains a really exhaustive list of say 40 signatures. The thing with GitHub Actions is you do not really, again, this is a general cloud thing that you really do not need to care about your servers because it's just another service. You take down one and you bring up another. So GitHub Actions could be a place where you install it every time. So you get the latest one anyways. So you don't really need to worry about whether or not you're maintaining secrets on your part. It happens when you're using a tool or custom signatures. For example, you have an internal secret. So you have an internal service that uses a particular kind of secret or a pattern that Trufflehog would not know, right? Because it's your internal stuff. So in that case, you want to maintain it. And then again, maintaining it centrally becomes the easier way to go.
All right, perfect. Yes. So we have one more questions by Siddhartha Verma. So which CI/CD solution is the best in your opinion?
It's very subjective, to be honest. It depends on what features the CI/CD solution is providing and what you're looking for. Jenkins, for that matter, provides a lot of things, but say for people it's Java based and you have to install it and stuff like that. So you might want to use CI/CD as a service kind of a solution that is out there. So it depends really on your use case. But if you're just looking to try out CI/CD, I'd say Jenkins. Go with Jenkins and try out stuff and see what CI/CD means, and then maybe you can look further.
Beautiful, beautifully diplomatically answered. So we have one more question by Santanu Verma. In case a sensitive file is leaked, is it possible to purge the file from history entirely?
So again, Git rebase allows you to do a bunch of fancy stuff, but it's fairly tricky. And Git is one thing that you might not necessarily master even at the end of your software development career or in general. So in the best way would be to revoke secrets. You may be able to try to purge the file from history, rebase, and edit those commit or changes that you made. But again, this is a very, very tricky space to be in, and you might just ruin your entire Git repository. So I'd suggest not to do that.
Right. Yes. Comment carefully, guys. Right. So we have another question by Siddhant Khare. And he asks, is there any chance what if the scanner itself stores it?
Nice question, I guess. So the thing is, all the tools that I mentioned are open source. So you can take a look at the code if they're doing anything funky with your secrets, and if they're exfiltrating secrets that you scan for and then sending it to some other place that they're not supposed to. But for the most part, they don't do this. So the tools that I mentioned, at least, they don't really do this. I have tested all of them. The easiest way would be, if you want to try this out, is to try to run the secret and take a look at the network traffic. If there's something that going on there that happens during the scan and it does not happen afterwards, you might be onto something, and then you might get some bug bounties if you're into it.
Right. So not really going to bank on trust here. Yeah. So we'll have to manually check ourselves as well. All right. Yes, that's perfect. So we're done with the questions. Thank you so much, Ayush, for your intro into Git Actions and also the scan workflow. So thanks a lot for that. And right, so before we go on to the next section of our pipeline. Here's a breather. So catch you at the other end. We have amazing stuff in store for you. Right, guys, I'll ask everybody to comment like some or my OMG DSE or something. Just do it. Right, for now. I think the hype is a bit low, so. Right, welcome back, passengers. So let's keep up the spirits high, and as we move closer to the end, let's have a huge shout out to each and every one of you all who have joined us in today, and for the entire DSE community for putting up such a beautiful show today. So leave it all in the comment section, and yeah, hip hip. I'm going to wait till I see Hooray. It's kind of weird to do it online, but let's just hope that we feel closer and we feel like we are under a single roof, at least with the internet. So yeah, hip hip. Hooray. Yeah. Thank you guys so much. So yeah, let's keep the spirits high. To all the curious souls who've always wondered how Google Assistant or Alexa or Siri have helped us in the paradigm shift with the usage of voice, we have with us a couple of guides to help us understand the use case of voice, the latest trends, the future possibilities, and also the features and the enhancements and actions of Google. So we have with us two speakers. The first one is Akanksha, a community advocate and the lead at DSE GTBIT. And our second speaker, Divyansh, a product evangelist at Botmock and a voice experience designer. They're here with us to introduce the new era of voice. Over to you guys, evangelists.
Okay. Thanks a lot, Kishore. Okay. So let's get started. Hi, everyone. I am Akanksha. I am the DSC lead at Guru Tegh Bahadur Institute of Technology. I am a web and VUI developer and also leading the DSC chapter at GTBIT.
Nice. So, hello everyone. So this is Divyansh. I'm a product evangelist at Botmock, and I've been into voice communities for more than 2 years. And so I will be talking about how to start with voice and opportunities in voice and what you can do to create your different space and recognition in the voice technology and field. So, Akanksha, I think you can start.
Okay. So before starting with the new era of voice, let me share you my journey, how I started. So 2 years back, I attended an Actions on Google workshop, and I was very fascinated with voice apps of Google Assistant, and I also built few bilingual apps that got me a Google Home. So excited to bring the voice revolution in India, I wanted to teach others about this latest technology. So like people getting access to resources more easily. I have helped a lot of people in getting in the field of voice and have given more than 20 plus sessions on actions on Google in 4 different states of India, and which actually impacted over 2,000 people in a span of 1 year. So, and like whether we are talking about the voice user interface for mobile apps or smart homes, so voice interactions are becoming common in today's technology, especially since screen fatigue is a concern. So today we will be going to talk about more about voice first. I will be sharing about what's voice, what's GUI versus VUI, how voice has made our lives easier, and we'll also be talking about some open source projects that you can also contribute to. Okay. So what's GUI versus VUI? So when a user is navigating to a GUI, that's the user interface that is graphical, as you can see in websites or in mobiles. They can read the text or go to any location on a web page, and they can also skip ahead some pages. But in VUI, the user is captive to the design. They must listen to each and every word before they can hear one that follows. So VUI enables people to their voice and innate language skills to interact with the technology. So next comes the voice revolution. In 2012, there comes the screen first interaction Here we started with application designed primarily for screen, voice controls, and after added towards enhance the experience. Then came the voice only interaction. So here there's no screen at all, and all input and output is based on the sound, such as a smart speaker. We have Google Homes as well as Alexa speakers. So in 2017, then comes the voice first, which we will be going to talk about. That's the voice first interaction. So it's a combo of both speaker plus screen. So as you can see that the evolution has been a really drastic one, from command line interface to people writing on the terminals to GUI, like people navigating to the graphical icons. And if your experience involves shoppings or payments, it supports rich transactions and allow you to accept payments as well. So here is a small graph which shows uh, natural user interface, and here we are lying in between the natural user interface. So natural user interface is different from voice user interface. Natural user interface offers you more natural conversations. You won't feel that you're talking to an IVRs or a robotic voice. So that's all about it. So here's a quote by Nick Fox. Every once in a while, there is a tectonic shift in the technology, and we think voice is one of those. When Android came into the market, who would have thought that the things would rise to this extent? Many people didn't believe in it initially, but now each and every person has an Android phone, and similarly will be in the case of voice. So, voice has been used in the voice searches, voice commerce, as well as voice in cars. So, there are Google assistants integrated in the voice itself, and there has been 1.8 billion transactions by voice in 2017 in the US. So, they are also working more on the biometric information to prevent security thefts and all. Okay. So after now, what's the problem? Like people are feeling more addicted to the social media. They feel closer to their computers and they feel addicted. So what's our vision? Our vision is to communicate screenlessly, start with emotions to amplify your thoughts to create your voice. And what's our mission? Our mission is to leverage voice technology to 10 times human face-to-face connectivity. So remember Captain Kirk interacting with the Star Trek computer just by speaking to it, and now we have all the voice assistants, be it Google Assistant, Siri, Cortana, IBM Watson, and so on. So these voice assistants are not just limited to performing tasks and solving our queries. They can be our best buddies too. Are you feeling anxious or stuck in a mood, trying to calm your mind after a long day, and you want to be more productive and happier? So a quick conversation with the assistant is might what you all need. So it aims to do this all this within minutes and thus lessening your anxiety levels, and many companies are working towards it. So voice interaction represents the biggest UX challenge since the birth of the smartphone. So we break down the implications and opportunities for the paradigm shift in the UX design. So the rapid proliferation of voice interaction capabilities in our digital ecosystem raises critical questions for designers who plays a role in the customer experience. It's becoming clear that voice interaction will soon become expected offering as an alternative or even a full replacement to traditional voice visual user interfaces. So, in an amazing demo at Google I/O, the Google Assistant can actually ring up a saloon or a restaurant to make an appointment for you. You don't even have to call yourself even. Isn't that cool? So, the new age of touch as the primary user interface is giving a new way to the age of voice and digital assistants. And an open source voice recognition tool which is released by the Mozilla, that it states close to the human level performance. It's basically a free speech recognition software for developers to plug into their projects. So let me show how it works. So it was launched by the Mozilla, aiming to promote more people to donate their recordings of their voice in an open repository. You must have heard about the Google crowdsource campaign, which actually checks whether it's a traffic light or not. It asks the user to rate and tell everything. Similarly, we need a lot of data for the voice as well. To increase the natural conversation, we need a lot of data. So, uh, the Mozilla is working upon it, so we can speak and donate our voice, or maybe we can listen and we can help them validate these voices. So it's a speech recognition algorithm which enables developers to create speech interfaces that uses considerably simpler software architectures. So it's a Mozilla Deep Speech TensorFlow based speech to text processor that has reasonably high accuracy, and it has a remarkable per error rate of nearly about 6.5%. So you can also look after these projects. So in conclusion, connection is the king. We live in a world where speed, efficiency, and convenience are placed at premium. So, voice and conversational AI ignite this worldview, ready to enhance the lives in ways once ever dreamed possible. So, from healthcare to banking to farming, AI is fueling change across every industry around the planet. It's also helping people at the time of the COVID-19 pandemic as well. And even when you wake up, you are dependent on your Google Assistant, like, hey, Google, set up an alarm for me, and maybe switching on the lights and so on. So I would like to say that disruptions don't evolve, they erupt. And it's likely that voice assistants are closely following the footsteps of web and mobile. So here's my journey. I was a regular attendee in meetups to becoming an organizer, hosting events, and then finally speaking at meetups. Like the transformation has been really awesome, all thanks to these voice communities and especially developer student clubs who have always supported me. So here are some glimpses of the sessions that I took along with my colleague Divyansh, and I've also spoken in some Dev Fest and the spoken Mumbai too. So we would be doing questionnaire round at the end. Thank you.
Right. Yes. So
So
we'll take questions.
at the end.
Yes, we will. Yeah, we'll take questions at the end after we're done with the Divyansh as well. Right. Perfect.
Hey, thanks, Akanksha, for amazing talk. Like it was so insightful, and I believe this would help others to start with voice. So
Yeah.
here, so I'm going to start with share some my experience in voice and what and how you can start in a voice. Let's say if you're coming from completely beginner background, we'll be helping you out like how to start and what you can do with voice, and we'll talk about some open source projects in voice and everything around voice. Yep. So a little bit about me. I'm also a DSC lead at Galgodia. I forgot to share this previously. So I also run a communities and we host meetups. Before the COVID, we hosted so many events and webinars, all just thanks to DSC community. And the personal experience of my DSC part of DSC community is like they help so much me in growing. So I believe some of you have applied for to become a DSC lead. So best wishes for that. I pray you get selected as lead. Yeah. So voice is the new normal. Like in the Akanksha's talk, she told like voice is the next, a paradigm shift. So sometimes I feel voice is making us lazy, but it is not. Like if we can do something smartly, we can do it with voice. So here's something about voice, and yeah, the most important thing, how to start and how you can build the voice experiences and voice skills. So taking example of Domino's or something like a pizza booking app. So let's say you people have Zomato or Domino's in your phone, where you can just order a pizza by going and selecting the which pizza would you like to have, and simply you order it. Just imagine the scenario: you're at home and you ask your Alexa or Google device, Google Home, to book you a pizza. So wouldn't that be amazing? Yes, it is. So then the thing started, or you can book Uber or Ola with just your device. So it is just helping us in accessibility, and we are doing things by ease. So here's the platforms, the famous platforms by which you can start with building experiences and voice app. So Google Action Builder, I believe most of you have built Google Action already, because they were running amazing community program where you will be getting one T-shirt if you build a Google Action. So I think the program was closed 6 months ago. But a few days back, in the Voice Global, Google released their new Action Builder SDK. And believe me, it's really amazing. I'll be sharing the links so that you can explore more. And Amazon Ask SDK. So Amazon Alexa is like market shares and everything is like Amazon is leading in this thing as for now. So they have like really amazing developer reward program. You can make money, you can build skills, and you can. There are so many opportunities here. And Samsung Bixby. So Samsung Bixby is kind of new in the competition, but the platform is really good, and yeah, it's amazing. But for beginners, I would not recommend to start with Samsung Bixby or even IBM Watson. What I recommend is, if you're a beginner and you want to start building voice experiences, I would recommend to go with Google Actions or Amazon Ask SDK. So Amazon is also putting so much effort in running their voice communities and helping people to start with voice, as well as Google. So like Amazon have some specific program to promote voice technology, that is Alexa Student Influencer. You can check it out. That, and yeah. So I was talking about communities in voice. So voice is a like fairly new field, and the community people here are very limited. So what is but the limited, but they all are super awesome. Recently Akanksha gave a talk on Voice Global around voice thing. So Voice Global is the one of the biggest voice conferences in all around the globe, and the best part of the voice conferences is like all their competitors sponsored and come on the same platform and talk about their platforms. Like we have there are Google, Amazon, Bixby are the gold platinum sponsors, and the best thing is like you get to meet so many amazing people there who are making and contributing to the voice community. So like if I don't know if you people know Adam. Adam Charis is the creator of Siri. So the best moment for me is like when I get into the Bixby community. I have watched before getting into Bixby community. I watched his talks around his TED talks and how he created the CD and everything around that. But when I joined the Bixby community, I think 3 to 4 months ago, I there was an amazing experience. He and the web team, Roger, and everything from Samsung mentored us, and same goes with uh, Google and Amazon. In Amazon, we have Karthik, his Alexa evangelist here in India, and Google also has like very supportive and supporting in starting with voice. So communities in voice. So I would give you one suggestion. Like if you want to start with voice, just go ahead and join the communities around you. So before joining Botmog, I run several communities around voice. Some was VoiceFlow. So VoiceFlow is also like kind of tool, no code tool where you can build experiences without coding. So let's say you're not a coder and you want to build something with voice and you're not into the development field, you can check them out. And a little bit about Botmog, the company I work with. So what we do is we simply help them help others in prototyping the voice experiences. I'll be talking a bit more about why prototyping is important in voice experiences. So before that, let's go to the next slide. Yep. Another thing, making money with voice. So I don't know. I think most of you know the name of like Google Summer of Code program. I think most of you know about that. So what other thing in this program is like there are so many open source projects and you work on. So in past couple of years, I've been seeing like the projects around voice is increasing rapidly, or kind of you can see exponentially. People are trying their hands on voice open source and adding voice to their platform. So yes, this is nice. And the best thing as for now, I would recommend you is like you can start building out Alexa skills or Google Action. So get money, because there are so many voice startups. Like if you just Google search, voice startups in 2019 or voice startups launch in 2020, you get tons of the startups. And what these startups are like, they are looking for good Alexa developers or Google Action developers. So this might be a good opportunity for you. So I also worked in the same industry, like the Botmock is also in the voice industry, and I got my job there just because of my contributions in voice and what I've done in last couple of years. So if you want to start it out, or with the aim like creating your future in voice, you can stick with some startups and ask them to, okay, I'm an Alexa skill developer, I want to build a skill for you. So this might be a good option. And other than this, there is Alexa Developer Reward Program. So in Developer Reward Program, what happens is Alexa gives you money for getting active users on their skill. So the most famous Alexa voice app right now is like Hanuman Chalisa on Alexa. I think you most of you heard of this about this skill. So the creator is like, I met the creator of Hanuman Chalisa Alexa skill. I met him in one of the voice conferences in February. So I just asked him like, from where did you get the idea or building this? So he said, I just started out with building this, started out with building the voice app, and I found, yeah, people do love hearing Hanuman Chalisa or kind of that. So I built the skill for that. So yeah, key features of games and kind of voice apps you can build. So you can build game, you can build a VUI version of any Android application, let's say Zomato or Domino's, or you can just add voice experiences to the existing platform, right? So here are some custom skill flow builder. So what is skill flow builder? I'll be taking everything in, I think, next year. Yeah, in best practices and opportunity. So best practices and opportunities. Even we are hiring some of good people in the voice. So if you think you are good, please reach out to me after the session. I would definitely consider you in our team. And another thing is like best practices and opportunity. So I believe there are tons of opportunities in voice. You just need to explore the more thing. And also, if you're female, so there's recently Akanksha and Sarandeep started Women in Voice India. So you can reach out to Akanksha, to get more insights of Women in Voice. So Women in Voice is like biggest voice community, leading leading all around the globe. So this would be best thing if you join the community as for now, and you can learn along with the along with the learning. You can you have so many opportunities and everything. Thanks. This is for this is my Twitter handle. You can reach out to me anytime here, and I would be I am super active here. So thank you for the session. And just 1 second, I want to share my screen once again. So till then, if you have any questions or something, you can just
right. Yes. We do have a couple of questions, and yeah, amazing slides. It was very simplistic. You did convey the power of voice over text. So that was very generic. So yeah, we have a question. Naveen.
So
Yeah,
we can start with questions. Yeah.
Right. Yes. So we have a question from Naveen, and he asks, "How will accessibility be affected with voice going forward?"
I think Akanksha would best to give this answer, right? Because there was something in her slide related to this.
So I think accessibility won't be affected much since I mentioned earlier that it's voice first. We are not saying that only refer to the smart speakers. We also have multimodal skills as well that offers you both visual experience as well as you can hear the conversation experience. Let's say I want to play a game and I just want to click on it, I can click. But if I want to like control with my command, so I can control with that too. So we are offering everything in it.
Right. Perfect. So, and I think also accessibility takes into consideration, people who cannot hear as well, deaf people. So,
Yeah.
takes into consideration all physical challenges and not just mute. So I think
Yeah, even websites have like Cortana also uses that feature. They get over that particular area, and the computer tells what is it for. And even we have it in mobiles too.
exactly right. Beautiful. So we have another question by Anak Tripathi. What if they were storing the voice data? Would they be able to play it later?
So this is very interesting question, and there are so many myths and things around privacy concerns with the smart speakers. Like if Alexa is hearing 24/7 is, and what they are using our voice or data, or it's kind of privacy leak. So it's all just kind of myth. So it's kind of blaming Google. So my Google password, you might use this in the future, but that's not the case. Or uh, I can recommend you, like there was a web series Silicon Valley, and I really like the Gavin Wilson's concept of technical ethics. So that would be, I think, you can relate it with that.
Right, perfect. So before we move on to the next question, I have a question in mind. So how does this is taking reference to the famous meme, how does my microphone and my virtual assistant know that I'm talking when I'm on mute?
Yeah, so it's kind of like when are you saying, okay, Google, and it invokes, right?
Right, yes.
Yeah, so it is not listening all the, you're kind of listening all the time, but there is some invocation word. When the invocation word hits, it's kind of, unlocking your phone with voice, right? So you can correlate it with that.
Okay, so you can only invoke it with the intents that you've trained it to, not just random voice
Right.
data. Right. Okay.
Right.
Awesome. Cool. So I think we are done with the questions for now. And yes, so thank you, Akanksha, and thank you, Divyansh. You were really amazing, and you did give us a brief into the entire voice community itself. So thank you so much for that.
Yeah,
Thanks,
thanks.
Kishore.
Right. So now, as we move forward towards the end of our day and our vibrant sessions, we have another really big gun to pull out. So we'll be back with more info in a bit, but here's a little breather. Right. Right. So next up, we have with us an amazing panel of influencers to share with us how community ecosystem at different regions impact lives and engages the local community. To take it forward from here through the last leg of the session that we have for today, we have two moderators with us, Shubham Manna, the lead at DSAHIT, and Samat Nair, the lead at DSEVIT, two amazing moderators. And over to you guys to handle and introduce the panel.
Thank you so much, Kishore, for the introduction. It's super cool to be here, and I just hope I'm audible because like that's been a problem. So just knock knock, drop a hashtag OMG if you can hear me. Uh, and also like just to give a quick introduction, we are here with some of the most amazing community managers for the Developer Student Clubs program. With me, I have one of my co-leads from this from the 1920 session, Samarth. Hey, Samarth.
Hey, Shivam. Super excited to be here, man. I mean, it's going to be amazing today.
Makes sense. So without further ado, I'm just gonna like call up the amazing community managers that we have here. And the first up, we have Nikhil Raichur, who is the community manager for Developer Student Clubs India. Hey, Nikhil.
Hey, everybody. Hi, Shivam. Hi, Samarth. It's so great to be here. Yeah.
Next up, we have Mave Ishlar, the Developer Relations Coordinator, Central Asia, Caucasus, and Turkey. Hey, Mave.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me.
It's super cool to have you on board. Like going ahead with our rest of the community managers, we have Shad Roy, who is the community manager for Developer Student Club Southeast Asia. Hey, Shad.
Hey, everybody. It's good to be here. I'm super excited, to be part of DSE OMG. Thanks for having me.
Of course. And like before we introduce our last member, I would request all the audience to just keep the hashtag OMG going because that is going to be the entire vibe around the session right now. So introducing our last member I wouldn't call this a panel. I would call this more of like a chat session that we have with, and we are fortunate to have this amazing community managers on board. The last one up, we have Daniel Fiorello, the Developer Student Club Community Manager for United States. Hey, Dan.
Howdy from Texas, y'all. Thanks so much for having me. Really happy to be here.
It's super cool to have you all on board. And yeah, I mean, Samarth, why don't you take it up and let's just start talking about certain things that we have in our minds.
I mean, it's just super exhilarating to have so many past Google Student Ambassadors and even a WTM ambassador here. I mean, I'm just super inspired and motivated. I just want to present myself in the best manner at the moment, I would say. just very excited at the moment.
Okay, so just to the reason why we're having this session is to let me just give you all a little bit of context around here. So Nikhil and Shad, they have been previous Google student ambassadors. So they are the GSA alumni representing in this chat. Mave has been a former WTM ambassador. And Daniel, well, like I saved Daniel for the last because he has been like everyone else from the OMG team. He's also a former Developer Student Club lead. So with that context given out of the way, like just keep finding your hashtags here and on Twitter as well. Also, did I remind you that we have badges for this session as well? If not, just head over to tscomg.com/live and collect your badges there. But don't close this YouTube tab, just as a reminder. So let's just start like chatting and all. Like Samarth, if you want to like have a specific question for anyone here, just go ahead.
I mean, us being DSE leads and all of the community managers right here being Google Student Ambassadors and WTM Ambassadors. I mean, I just want to ask one question that I've always had in my mind. Let's just start out with Nikhil. Nikhil, how has your experience as a GSA translated into being a community manager now?
Oh yes, I think so. So the journey has been really inspiring so far because it all started with like knowing nothing. So because when you're into college or university as a student, all you think about is like, oh, I have my exams, I have my projects up. But something that really inspired me was looking at a website that said Google Student Ambassador Program, which gives you an opportunity to be liaison between Google and the university and speak about different products. So that's when I started like thinking of applying to the program and like got started with it. So the first thing that I really learned out of the whole process in the program was passion towards solving real world problems. Because you always think of like, what is the problem that I should be thinking of? If you know the problem, all you tend to do is like, let me go ahead and solve it. So, but when GSA or similar such programs arise and you being part of it gives you an opportunity to think on a wider scale. And this passion drives you to solve not just alone, but as a community, making sure that it brings up all these things together. Like this journey, definitely brings in all the collaboration between the learnings, experiences, and people whom we have met. And today it feels really great to be part on the other part of on the other side of managing this program, like talking to thousands of student developers, and yeah, managing it feels really cool.
That's super cool. I mean, like the first time I had come across this was, I think I was in grade 10 or 11, and I was like Googling on different developer programs, and GSA was a program I'd come across, and I was like shattered to see I have to be a college student to apply for that. And then I came across in college, it was like, it was now rebranded as DSC, and then I applied for that. But Nikhil, that's a super inspiring story to hear. But like moving on to like, Shad, you have also been a GSA from Philippines, am I right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So coming from there, like, how does it feel like being at the other side of the table, like managing community programs? And just tell us a bit about your story.
That's a very awesome question. I think similar, a lot similar with Nikhil. We're actually on the same batch. And though DSE India was run differently, and also Southeast Asia were run as well differently, but the essence of the culture of the program, the GSA program, has been there as well. And whenever we meet, and we recognize you're a GSA, I'm a GSA, that really changes the culture, and the process of getting to know. And to connect with your to the question, and how it's like to be part now that I work with managing the communities, it's actually kind of seeing the scale of the program, and how the impact is now contributing to thousands and hundreds of students around your region, around the communities that are being built by student leaders like you guys. And thinking all of these processes, and like what are ways that we can really improve, and what are the things that we can share and help them develop more of those skills, to be ready in the industry, it's just amazing. And how much impact we are doing in the lives of the students. And for me, putting that kind of a platform really changes a lot of things personally, as well as to the people that I've worked with as well. Yeah.
That's amazing. I mean, the part of the talk of culture, I think it's still there. It's there. It's transferred on from the GSA program now into the DSE program, and I think that culture is the most important thing that we all like to be a part of. And moving on from GSA, let's move on to Merve. She was a WTM ambassador and now a community manager too. So how has the transition been for you? I think you must have done a lot of things that have translated you into this position.
Thanks a lot. Actually, like while I was studying computer science, I was in Women Tech Makers and also a GDG, because there wasn't a DSC program in Turkey. And right now, finally, it's the first year of the program, end of the first year of the program. And that's why actually I was in GDG. Actually, you're pretty lucky about this, like having a DSC program while you're a student. It's perfect because, like, the culture, I agree about this. The culture is super different, because when you need to learn something, or when you feel stuck, especially when you're studying computer science, it's pretty like often like, and there's a community there for you, and you can ask them, you feel the same thing, or am I feel the same? Like, maybe I don't have the ability to doing these kinds of things. So it was a great opportunity for me. From the women tech maker side, I think diversity is the most important thing for the like computer science, computer engineering, and like all of the like areas. And so that's why I was in the women tech makers, because like you need to showcase the work of women leaders in tech if you want to provide a platform, their like success and everything. And also like women tech makers has a great program, like it has like great resources for that. So I was able to like meet with so many like women tech leaders like in from the industry, and they inspired me a lot. And maybe that's why I'm here right now, because of that, like, because while as you know also, like while you're organizing your events, you're also probably meeting with so many people in the same industry. And it was a great opportunity for me to transform from these communities And as I say this always, like I prefer community over competition. You should be also in the community, and if you want to develop yourself easily.
That's a very valid point that you put ahead, Mave. And like really like representation and diversity and like community instead of a competition. That is like a super important thing that we should all be like keeping in mind. And yeah, like to be very honest, it's kind of sometimes difficult to move past the daily constraints that we have, like balancing academics and all of that. And it's super cool that you have kind of shown the path forward in your region, and well as now to countless other students across the globe. That's a super inspiring story. Dan, I would have to ask you, like, from being a DSC lead to a DSC community manager, like, how have like how has the learnings from being a lead has translated and helped your efforts to be a community manager right now? And like, how do you think that has like helped you help the other leads in the region, and how has that impacted the growth of the entire developer student club ecosystem in North America?
Well, first of all, thank you for the question. I'm really happy to be here, and I was really happy to get to start this journey, last year and continue it, with DSC, not just in the US, but really across the globe. We have a great community here, and for me, that's one of the biggest things that I think, has been a benefit for this program. Right? Is we're not just helping students connect to new technologies and help them take their first steps on being a journey, but we're really establishing a community that you can come to for 1 to 5, 4 years, depending on how long you're in university, mentor each other and really take those steps. It's an incredible journey to watch that light bulb moment of DSCs, coming in and seeing the power of the technology. So in a nutshell, it's just been fantastic, right? Part of some of the learnings I've taken from my journey has been to really focus more in on the community aspect of DSC. Regardless of where people come from, there's always something that they can jump into and learn from, right? So it's kind of our job as leaders to facilitate that connection to the community, to encourage them to continue coming back, especially, as everyone has difficulties, we have to try to keep that in mind to continue our developer journeys.
I mean, I'm really super excited and motivated to hear that. And like, if I had I not been on the live stream, I'd have just like jumped on board and like started working and like bashing out numbers right now. So yeah, I mean,
same here. I mean, with all this inspiration, motivation vibe around in this live stream, I mean, let's just move on to getting in more information for people out there and letting them know about the DSC program. So, Mave, let us know how the program has been doing in your region and what all have been the new developments.
Yeah, sure. I'd love to mention that. As I told you, like it's the first year, end of the first year of the program, and I feel super lucky about this because like being part of like the SC family is really like incredible. I feel super connected with the like new developers, new students, and also like the new normal. Actually, we can still like connect with the the hashtag new normal thing is super trending here, and like right now we are actually building the new normal from the developer side. And in Turkey and also like Central Asia, I'm supporting these communities. Right now, we have 71 DSC clubs. It's the first year, like students are super motivated about this. And I feel super lucky to have like super hardworking like DSC leaders here. And for the next year, probably we will double the numbers. So which is gonna be more than 100. I don't know how it's gonna be like. But I'm super like inspiring by you, like because India is doing great job about like developer student clubs. I'm following you on Instagram and Twitter, and I see your like events and stuff, and also like for the DSC OMG, it's a great job. Like in Turkey nowadays, the popular thing is of course virtual events, like always, and like nowadays, and ML days is the most favorite one. Machine learning is pretty trending topic here, and the next event series will be about developer multicamp, which is gonna be about like multi-platform technologies. So you can also follow this, but probably it's gonna be in Turkish, or maybe they can switch it to English, so you can also join that. And it's good that we also organize some hackathons like you. Probably you also organize some because you've done a lot of things. So yeah, it's going well for now. I'm super excited for the next batch because like every year I think new DSC leads, new inspiring leads are coming, and it also motivates me so much. I don't feel like I'm working. I feel like I'm still in the community. I'm just doing a community job, just giving back and these kinds of things, and which is the most important part of my life because like I don't know, like this motivates me a lot. Thanks a lot.
That that's super cool to hear, Marve. Like, I really like the part where you mentioned that like working with a community ensures that you feel like you are not working at a job. And I think that's like one of the key learnings that we can take from this entire session. And like that is something we can emphasize and work on ourselves. So yeah, I mean, like I would come to Dan. Daniel, like you have set our YouTube comment section ablaze, like literally and metaphorically. And like just to tie in with the conversation thread, like how like the DSC program has been super active and super successful, if I may say that, in the United States, right? So like what are the steps that you have been taken there, and what are the things, kind of things that the leads there have done to facilitate this, this amazing culmination of the program?
Yeah, so I just want to quickly touch on something that was mentioned before. Being part of this program definitely doesn't feel like a job, right? We get to intermingle with all of these amazing students and developers from across the world. Like, y'all make this worth it. So don't stop what you're doing. Keep going. But I digress. For us in the US, one of the things that has been especially important, as we just launched a little bit ago, was looking at what the community wants to learn and how we can plug into the existing resources and communities that are there, not necessarily just taking over, right, but elevating all of the resources for all students to be as successful as possible. One of the things we switched to earlier this year was hosting, some more webinar content to also help students, kind of fill the gaps between, classes and things like that. And it's been really successful. One of the things we also did earlier was, a mini hackathon, right? It was called Hack DSC. Some of y'all might have seen it or participated. Yeah, it's been an incredibly successful year. I can't take any of the credit. It's just my job to elevate and kind of take what y'all are doing to the next level. So really all credit goes to y'all. I would just encourage you to keep in mind the community aspect, right? And you should actually, partner with them to come up with a plan of action to best, keep them motivated and going during this time. That has been the biggest motivational factor for our students here in the US.
I mean, the DSE program is all about that only, having an atmosphere. And even it's so good to hear that even after moving into a community manager role, you still feel like you're part of the team, you're working as the team. And that is really the point of DSE. The whole DSE program is surely a platform for everybody. Anybody can join in. Even if you elevate, you're still a part of it. That's the whole point. You're part of a community. So let's move on to Shad. You can give us a brief interview of what has been going on in the SEA region with the DSE program. I think Shad, you're on mute. We can't hear you. All your inspiration is going away. Please unmute yourself. We still can't hear you.
Hello, can you hear me now? Is
Yes,
that
now
better?
we'll get all the inspiration. Yes.
Okay, that's awesome. All right, so yeah, so I was just saying that yeah, this is very strange. I watched the other days with DSE OMG, and I've been seeing like a lot of people like saying no audio, and the comments are feeling it. But of course, to continue what I was just saying, DSE and SEA is has I'm covering about 6 different countries with so much diversity in it. The cultures and the differences as well really brought me to this new dimension of understanding and really getting to the level of what it's like to have a community in their own culture. First and foremost, I think from the scope that I mentioned, I handle Indonesia, Malaysia, Singapore, Vietnam, Philippines, and Pakistan, and and a total number of 140 DSC leads really brought me to sometimes even I would say I brought me to tears seeing how much impact has been made in a year. When I started, just to share with all of you, I barely know anybody in the entire region. Like when you tell me probably a year ago, who do I know in Pakistan, or who do I know in Indonesia, a student that will do a DSC program. I think most of you folks here are even on that stage, and it's amazing to think about it. Like just to think about it, a year ago, what were you doing? What were you thinking? And the moment you got selected in the program, what was that feeling that brought you in that in that experience, and that opened your eyes that there's this community that you can work with, and then you can create that small seed there that creates a huge impact. And bringing together the program and SEA really brought me to this next level of community, reaching out to the community. And the first of the activities that we've done were mostly study jumps. So we really wanted to focus more on skill development. We want to have more people have an idea or a knowledge in the cloud. We want more people to learn Flutter. We want to know, like, let more students know about Android and Kotlin, and of course different other Google technologies that we deep dive to really get into understanding of getting that skill required, and making them industry ready. So in last March, we actually organized a skills level up event where we brought in speakers from Google university programs team to talk about career, talk about how to be job ready. And those are some of the things that we really wanted to focus as well. And again, going back on the vision of DSC, where we want to bridge the gap of the theory and practice, and that's what we are really dwelling in, what we really want to target, getting more students to have the necessary skills that they need so that they can get to the industry ready, and just right into it. And looking at it, as I was talking to some of the DSE leads in Southeast Asia, they've done tremendous activities. They've done different skills events that really brought a lot of people together. And last time when we had our last calls, I had this moment of asking them, like, what were the most significant thing that you have done this year? And one of the students, one of the leads shared that he never realized how much potential he had until DSC came, that gave and brought him this platform to show something that he never imagined himself a year ago. And I was just mind blown. The stories of students that brought significant impact not only to their peers, not only to their university, but to themselves, and brought themselves to the next level, and making themselves ready for the world. And again, I would really love to talk more about the program, but again, it's all the effort that you've brought, and of course, the platform that brought in here was developer student clubs. But all the works are done by you guys, the students, the leads that brought everybody together in this amazing opportunity. And yeah, and I think that's one of the best things that I could say to everyone today.
I mean,
Thanks.
I can't think of a better message than that, Shad. And like, thank you so much for like showing us a direction to go ahead in the future and like making this super inspiring for all of us. Um, Now I'd move back to India and Nikhil, how has it been? Like leading the program in India. Like, what are some of the key takeaways that have been there? And like, considering the scale of the scale of developed student clubs programs in India, like, how has it been? Like your experience in all?
Oh, well, I think I can. Can you hear me? Because I'm super excited. So, okay, cool. So, well, I think leading this team, probably like 200 of all of you, takes me back to the memory of like not going out of my college days. It's just really amazing. Firstly, I think I definitely enjoy working with all of you across like 120 plus cities, which is incredible. So I also got a chance to go around to some cities and meet most of you. But yeah, I'm like planning to go around and at least meet you next time if I haven't already. But yeah, said that, I think DSC in India has been like one of the most promising like kind of student programs that I always hear about, because so many projects being built. There's so much evangelism about technology and how can it solve real world problems. Because all most of the time, like students are always involved with I have to do something. I have to do something. Like they're always inspired of like to like inspired of being at the top of the world, but are not very aware about what to do next. So I think at this point of time, I think DSC program has got this kind of testimonials that says that, hey, because of the program, I have been able to understand what should I be doing next, and today I am like somewhere from like the point I had to start then. So all these things together brings to so many inspiring memories for me altogether. Like having traveled on the streets of Kolkata, like Ahmedabad, and some parts of the south, Karnataka, then Tamil Nadu. Yeah, I think many more. I think Delhi, Mumbai. I definitely enjoyed it. I feel like I have to start also, creating my own blog where I keep sharing my journey as well. But thanks for all this awesome journey. It's really great to work with all of you.
Thank you so much for that, Nikhil. And yeah, Samat, take it up from here.
All I can say is that since the day I met Nikhil, I have been a huge fanboy of Nikhil. He's been really super inspirational. I think after today, I am a huge fanboy of all the community managers here. Uh, just enjoying this, having a huge smile on my face. I can't even imagine what the future people who are sitting here who applied for a DSC lead position are thinking, and I have questions in their mind. So let's move on to getting in questions from them, and probably we can give a better answer to them from the community managers directly. We would probably be having some questions pop up right away.
Yeah, just to add on to Samar, I'm actually a huge fan of Nikhil as well.
Everybody's a Nikhil fan.
I mean,
That's
like,
true.
wow, I'm a fan of everybody here. So that's how
I
we
do
drive
remember
everything.
though, during the DSC summit last year in India, Daniel had the best dance. I will never forget. Like that was the best dance I've ever seen in my life.
Of
And
course.
also yeah, that was the only time I feel I ever danced like that. And probably my wife doesn't know about it as well. So that was just that was just epic, bro. I would say that was the best thing I could remember.
Well, I'm happy. I'm happy y'all enjoyed it and that it was so memorable. Sometimes when the music hits just right, you got to express yourself, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Totally right.
That's true, bro.
The live comments have been filled with Danny's dance. So yeah, we have our first question. What's the craziest experience you've had while managing the leads? So we can probably start out with Chad.
Sure. One of the craziest experience I had. I would say I would say I think getting to memorize all the names of everyone. I think when you have 140 leads, it's hard. It's very hard to really recall every person. But as much as possible, I had to really find a way how to like pinpoint that person, that's the person that I'm talking. Because there were incident I was thinking of a different person and I was chatting on WhatsApp with them. And I was like thinking of another person, and that was just crazy. And I think that was like that was again my craziest experience.
What about
Names.
Danny? What's about you? So let me ask you another question. I have one for Mave. My question to Mave is: as a female community ambassador, what are the challenges you faced, and how did you overcome them?
Oh yeah, good question. Actually, like while I was studying computer science, there was this like sometimes in some of the classes there were like only three girls or something like that, and yeah, it was a bit hard when you just enter the class and you see three girls and all of them are guys. You feel like why it's not like diverse? What is the thing? What makes us like it's so different for us or something like that? Yeah, I also felt like that, but on the other hand, I knew that we can do this. Like there's nothing impossible, or we cannot do this, or it's not like a man's job or woman's job. We shouldn't do this. And maybe the thing that I was moving on with the like technical things, and previously also previous experience of mine before community managing, I was a developer. I was, developing some products, and I was having fun all the time. It wasn't something that I just escaped or something like that. I was also having fun. But the thing which made me here is obviously I like people. I like working with people, and I like motivating people. And also, it's something not about me. They are also motivating me. I feel like I know what I'm gonna do in the future. I feel like, oh, I know I can work with these people. We can create more things. We can develop more things, and we can work. We can make this world better place. And actually, like with this opportunity, I was also like supporting my female friends in the classes. Like I was, inviting them to my women tech makers events, but unfortunately they weren't so like able to join these events, and I was kind of the only one in the classes like who is going to the events. And my suggestion is, if you also have these kinds of tackles, if you feel a bit lonely about this industry, this environment, you probably just follow your passion and follow your dreams. That's what I did. I knew that it was a hard journey because maybe you don't have a female, close friends in the CS area. For example, all of my friends were in the like management, economics, like these kinds of departments. But also, like, it's not about like gender or stuff. It's all about your mind. You just need to think of. You need to find your, people who have the same dream with you, and that's how you can move on as a female. You shouldn't just think about the gender and these kinds of stuff. You just believe in yourself and focus on your dreams.
So well said. I think looking at the live comments also, they say relatable. I can understand. So I think I see you hit the spot for a lot of people here. So I have just one more question. One for Nikhil. Nikhil, how does it feel to be a lead of such awesome DSC leads?
I mean, so one word that I can answer is like, this is the happiest journey throughout my like career so far, because I get to speak to at least like 15 of them, or say about 50 of them every week. This is of a great aspect, and yeah, like there's always like I captain kind of thing. I love this. It really feels great, and there's an essence of empathy that comes in from all the DSC leads, understanding like each of us, and because we all of us is like driving towards one journey, that is solving a problem as a community. So yeah, it feels really great. Yeah. That's a kind of emotional moment, yeah. So, yeah.
If people can't tell, me and Shubham are blushing at the moment. So much appreciation for the current DSC leads.
So I just like to like jump in this moment, and like even if the question was just for Nikhil, I would like to float it across to everyone. So if I have to say like just describe in one word and just one single word, how does it feel to be a lead? A meta question: how does it feel to be a lead of such amazing leads? What would the one word be? Just start with Daniel.
Ooh, put me on the spot. Okay. One word. I'd say surreal.
That's okay.
No, that's a surreal answer.
Surreal.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, I'll go next. For me, it's impactful, I guess. Impactful.
Okay. Mave, what about you?
I'm back. Sorry, I
lost
didn't
my
hear
bag.
the question. Yeah, my internet is lost. Yeah. Can I take it again?
So we're asking that, like, if there was one word you could use to describe what it's like to lead all these amazing developer student club leads, what would that one word be? And the restriction is just that it has to be one word.
I can say like you mean the tackles, or you mean the like positive sides of this as a word? Probably I can say just one word. It's like inspiring for me. It's inspiring, and from the like tackles, if we're thinking about like these kinds of things, then maybe I don't know, like being super social is sometimes a problem, or
I mean, like, yeah. Thanks, guys. I mean, thank you everyone for like joining us. Like that was like a tender moment between me and someone trying to figure out who should speak next. And so like it has been super inspiring, and I can guarantee you that every single lead who has been a part of the OMG team or is behind the screens watching this program, I think like everyone is like at their toes right now, just to hear like how amazing this has been. And yeah, Samar, I think I'm too emotional to say the parting words right now, so I would leave the honors to you.
Wow. Wow. Like, I'm not emotional. You've just put me on the spot. So I would say I have used this word a lot, but I mean it from the bottom of my heart. I'm inspired to the core right now. I would like to thank all the community managers that are present here to join us for such an amazing conversation style of learning. I mean, who just join us for a conversation? That's how you pitch it to people and people join in. I mean, only such community managers could do that. I hope all of you had a great time in this quick informal session. And from my side, I would like to thank each and every person that's watching this live stream, and also all the community managers that are present here, just to be here and inspire all of us.
For sure.
We're super happy.
I mean, like,
super happy to be here.
Yeah.
Thanks for having us, y'all.
Awesome, guys.
Yeah.
So I think with that we come to a wrap of the session, and thank you to all the community managers for being here. And yeah, like just to give you a small sneak peek of what happened backstage just before this session was conceived. So me and Samat had kind of tried to write a script so that we made sure the conflicts would not occur. The community managers took a look at that, and then they said, "Why do we need a script? Let's just talk." That's all we really wanted. You more about the community and the ecosystem that we are part of, and I think we have encroached a lot on time. Super apologies to Kishore, and it's back to you now.
Yes, thank you, Shivam, and thank you, Samarth, and thank you for moderating such a beautiful panel that we've all been waiting to listen to. And as you can say from the grin on my face, I had this completely throughout the entire session. It was a one filled with fun and frolic. So thank you guys for moderating it. It was beautifully handled, and it was a beautiful conversation. So thank you so much for that. And with that, we come to the end of our session today. And thank you all for patiently listening to each and every session that we've had. And while you're waiting to attend our D-Day, the day 5 of our online humongous gathering, grab some exclusive badges at dscomg.com and flaunt it away on social media with the right hashtags and hashtag #DSCOMG. So stay tuned, stay safe. Let's meet tomorrow. And signing off is your host, Kishore, on behalf of the entire DSC family. Thank you all once again.